Welcome to the Filmsteins, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $20 tier grants the ability to request films for future episodes. How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. Well, welcome back to the Filmsteins. Probably the most special episode of the day. Oh, I don't know why I'm putting that there. Of the day.
The season.
Of the season. The jolly season. I am joined today by my movie watching friend. Lots of movie watching friend. 26 movies today we're talking about. Lucy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. Hello, my friends.
You don't have friends?
Oh. Hello, my two listeners out there.
Well, is today special?
Today is very special.
You seemed a little excited about talking about this.
I am excited. I'm so excited.
So
I'm
today
ready.
we're going to basically rank independently, challenging each other's ranking two of the Pixar movies, the 26 Pixar movies between Toy Story and Lightyear?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So those are the ones getting ready for, I guess, Elemental on some level.
Is that coming out this year?
I think there's two Pixar movies coming out this year, Elemental and Inside Out 2.
Oh.
Is that the other one? I'm not sure. So let's just kick it off. We're gonna go. Do you have any first thoughts, first comments, questions, concerns you want to say to me right now before we start shouting?
You want fighting words or you want peace words?
I don't care.
I don't know. I don't have anything.
Okay, we're gonna start with number 26 and work our way up or back to number 1.
All right.
The worst to the best. That's what we want. And say the number.
Oh, I might have something though.
Some people don't say the number when they're doing some kind of ranking thing. You gotta say your number. You know, if you think this is number 5, you gotta say it's number 5 because you get lost in the conversation between, when you go back and forth.
I do want to say real quick that I ranked these movies at first. I ranked them just out of feeling, whatever I thought, 1 through 26.
Okay.
Then I ranked them again, and maybe this second ranking, I can just tell you my best and worst. If we want, it doesn't matter. I ranked them according to character development, the animation, the plot, the score, soundtrack, the dialogue, and this one's very important. Did it make me cry?
What about scare you?
No. None of these scared me except one, but that's a different story. And I ranked each one 1 to 5 in each of those categories. And it was surprising what I got doing that.
Okay, so you tried to take some criteria measure and not...
I was just curious about, feeling versus actually thinking about the movie. Because
okay.
I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to...
This was not hard to rank.
No, I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to kind of analyze movies, or it's hard for me to analyze animated movies as well as I can non-animated movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
So I wanted to kind of challenge myself and put some thought into these.
I respect that. I feel like animated movies get a little bit of a pass because the animation is so slick in things like Pixar and some of these Sony movies and stuff when they're not actually very good.
Yeah.
And I hope, like the Despicable Me or movies or something, I hope people see the Puss in Boots movie and realize, wow, animated movies can be sort of deep.
Yeah.
So unlike 90% of your Pixar movies, which we'll see here. Because I'm going to say off the top that Pixar collectively is the most overrated collection of movies.
Oh, man.
Probably on the planet. I don't know. The only contender is really going to be Marvel. I don't know if Marvel, I don't know if people try to elevate Marvel over any thing of high quality. I don't know. I don't really know.
You already started the fighting words.
Yeah,
man.
I don't know. I think there's probably genuinely only 5 or 6 really great movies within the Pixar catalog out of the 26 that are there. All right, so how do you want to go? You want me to go first? Are you that curious, or do you want
You know
to go
what?
first?
I think our worst movies are gonna align.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious where
At
we
least
start
our-
deviating.
Yeah, or at least our like 3-4 worst movies. I think they'll align.
They might.
So
You
go
might
ahead.
be surprised. So the worst movie. You want me to go first?
Yes.
The worst Pixar movie is A Bug's Life. I'm just kidding. I just kid. I kid. Just let it recover for a second.
Gosh.
So you know the worst, my worst. Cars 2 is very easily the worst Pixar movie.
Cars 2 is your worst Pixar movie.
Yeah.
My worst Pixar movie, which I don't know if it's fair for me to say, but I think so, is Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't finish watching it. I fell asleep, which, does that say anything that
No.
I couldn't finish it?
It's,
Okay. But I just thought it was awful. All of it.
yeah, it's terrible. Pixar, Lightyear is, you gotta be suspicious when they don't release it in theaters, And Lightyear did not come to theaters. Kind of like Peter Pan and some of these other, maybe Pinocchio last year.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Pinocchio.
I don't keep up with Disney enough to really say, but it seems just the sending it straight to streaming service seems a little suspicious, especially coming out of a major movie producer like Disney.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, the overall movie, the storyline, I didn't quite follow. The animation, Buzz just looked bad. He just looked bad. I don't know.
Yep. Do you know the twist?
No.
That Zorg, is that his name? I think Zorg is Buzz from the future.
No. Still wouldn't have made it
Yeah,
better.
the setup was pretty
That's
terrible.
Awful. All right, well.
Do you have any questions for me on Cars 2, though? Or are we... That's pretty much a consensus. I'm sure
Well,
that's going to be your number 25.
Yeah, my number 25 is Cars 2, so.
Yeah, and my number 25 is Lightyear. So,
yeah,
they're indistinguishable from... Those two are very equally terrible.
Yeah.
I could wake up one day and say Lightyear's is the worst. Those are...
Yeah, they're
interchangeable.
pretty much tied for me, too. At least Cars 2, I stayed awake through the whole thing.
That's funny.
And, that storyline was just awful. It was awful. It's like they didn't even try to write a decent storyline.
You talk Cars 2?
Cars 2,
Cars
yes.
2 felt like before Disney Plus, but it felt like a Disney Plus movie.
Yeah.
I feel like that would fit right in that pocket. And they obviously embraced that in some way because they had that Cars, show come out with Mater or whatever. And that was basically just Cars 2's adaptation of a show,
Yeah, it was very childish.
Unlike Cars
stupid.
1 and 3, where they feel like proper sequels.
Exactly.
Or Cars 3 feels like a proper sequel to 1.
Yeah, agree.
So my number 24 is probably
My 24?
obvious. It might be A Good Dinosaur.
Yeah,
The
that's
Good
my
Dinosaur.
24.
Yeah. The Good Dinosaur is better than when 5 years ago I would have... when did it come out? Probably 5 or 6 years ago, right?
I think longer.
When it first came out, I was like, this is very easily the worst Pixar movie. But that was also before I saw Cars 2. And so I guess it was kind of still in my mind. But rewatching it here in the last year, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's still terrible.
I agree with you. The way the dad died doesn't make sense to me. They were just out walking and he slipped and then he just went off in the river. There was a storm. Like, I didn't understand what happened there. The kid, being the pet and the dinosaur being the, like, I wasn't following it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, the whole premise, the premise was just silly. So I feel like there was no saving it from.
And the cowboy T-Rexes, what was up with that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was very confused on what they were doing with this film.
Yeah, it's probably the Pixar movie that really tries to capture the little kid the most. The 3-year-old, the 2-year-old, this, because it's just dinosaurs and color, and because it's got the Good Dinosaur has I would say the least amount of talking, right? So it doesn't have any dialogue and proper story and character development. So that screams to me made for children.
Yes.
Like small children, not 7, 8-year-olds, but 2, 3, 4-year-olds. People who have, have no choice but to watch Cocomelon because they can't focus on other movies, which is a product of maybe modern society or whatever, but it's still, Good Dinosaur is also kind of a byproduct of that, and it just doesn't hold up in any cinematic way.
Yeah, I mean, my 1-year-old nephew loves it. He likes the color. He likes the moving, Spot, I think that's his name, the little child thing.
Yeah.
Caveman child. He likes that. It moves around and is all creepy and shit. So that's enough said.
Yeah, and I think that in itself is a problem it makes it a problem to appreciate this movie on any higher level, because if children of that age can appreciate it, it tells you there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Because you have to appreciate things you really have to work for. And
Agreed.
A 1-year-old is not working for that because they don't know how. But Disney knows that. Pixar knows that, right? So they're going to try to cater to that where they can.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the premise just doesn't hold up next to movies that have actual premise and story. So it's just by default kind of falls to the bottom. Not a terribly made movie like Cars 2 and Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's above the two.
but,
but it's still in that
Yeah.
it's might be the helm of the ship, but it's still on the ship. That was your number 24?
Yes.
My number 23 is Onward.
Really?
Yeah.
My number 23 is The Incredibles 2.
Okay.
That was the biggest letdown.
For a generation.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. It's pretty low on mine too.
It was bad. It was the plot of the movie, like what is up with this side plot with Mr. Incredible? I mean, there were some good bits. I think the scene where he's really frustrated trying to help Dash with his math homework, and he's like, they changed math. Like, I think that was a pretty funny, pretty relatable, but that's about the only thing I remember from
the
that
intro
movie.
pretty much.
The intro?
Yeah, setting up that was part of the intro, right? Where Mr. Incredible was
dad.
He was having to be a dad, a stay-at-home
okay.
dad, and they were kind of building that character, and then Mrs. Elastigirl or whatever was the superhero, basically, and they wanted her back because she's less destructive and she just has a better image, and they were trying to take advantage of that, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I guess it was more towards the beginning than the
or at least
end.
that part where he was the stay-at-home dad.
What do you mean?
When he was a stay-at-home dad, that was at the beginning.
Well,
he wasn't a stay-at-home dad the whole movie.
I mean, he was a stay-at-home dad
because he was brought into the fold, and he was, the movie kicked off. That wasn't part of the movie, right?
Him being a stay-at-home dad wasn't part of the movie.
Was the whole movie focused on Elastigirl?
Pretty much. You would have this, here's stay-at-home dad, and then here's Elastigirl, and then towards the middle end is when you find out about the bad guy and the other superheroes. But I was just saying that That's probably the most funny scene or relatable thing from the film, and then pretty much everything sucked. You know, there wasn't much development of the other family members, and the other superheroes were so lame.
Yeah, they were super lame.
You have superheroes that are made up. You know, you don't have to stick with your Batman, Superman, Iron Man, whatever. You don't have to stick with that. You have total freedom, total creative freedom to do to make these superheroes be awesome. But you didn't. You made them so lame, and you didn't take them anywhere. And the villain, what? Who is talk about the lamest villain in any of these movies?
Is he just like a corporate villain?
It was that lady with the short hair.
Oh, that's right.
Manipulating her brother, manipulating
That's right,
everybody.
that's right.
Like, okay, cool. You didn't even remember the villain.
Oh, no.
So that's how unmemorable she was.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to put Incredibles down a little bit at 22.
Oh, am I changing your mind?
Yeah, I'm just remembering how terrible it was.
Yeah.
I forgot about the
Okay.
extra villains and stuff. And I thought the Mr. Incredible being a stay-at-home dad part was a little more of a setup part and not just his character all of a sudden. But I guess it was that was just his character in this second movie.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense.
They didn't take that anywhere.
Yeah, that's an amazing setup for Mr. Incredible because he's Mr. Incredible. He went from being, I guess, arguably the most incredible superhero to a stay-at-home dad because of the politics of superheroes in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember there was a couple of good scenes with him, but yeah, I guess that doesn't go anywhere. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and
so
if
that'll be my 22nd.
22nd?
Yeah,
okay.
After Onward.
Yeah, if the good scenes are in your B plot, that's not good.
Mm-mm. Nope. That's words from the wise, really. Your B plot should either give you relief or elevate your A plot. So that's a good point.
All right, tell me about Onward.
Onward's just a generic mess.
A generic mess.
Tom Holland, is that his name? And
yeah.
Chris Pratt. Pete Pratt. They're fine. It's just so vanilla. It just reminds me of Aragon. I don't know. It's about on the same level as Aragon, the movie. It's just so unremarkable in every way whatsoever, which is a bummer because the premise, not the setup premise for the story, but just the premise for the world they're in is fun. And kind of like the Monsters, Inc. type situation where they're kind of monsters in a modern world dealing with modern technology and problems. And they're dealing with that here, except magic is illegal, right? Basically. Or just gone.
No, and I think this is why it's a little bit higher on my list. Because of the world development. But they got lazy. And I don't know, I just find that hilarious that they have magic powers, they have magic, and they just got lazy and stopped using it or settled for less or something. So I agree with you on most of the movie being a little bit lame. They could have taken it somewhere so much better. They almost like they didn't know what they had.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. They did not know what they had.
But I think the world is something that was mega cool.
Yeah.
And, when they shrunk the brother, I have a thing for small things that are
supposed to be big.
They're supposed to be
or
big.
Or big things that are supposed to be small.
Yeah. So I like that they shrunk the brother and they played with that a little bit. So maybe that's why it's a little bit higher. Not much higher, but a little bit higher on my list.
Yeah. The catalyst to get things moving was amongst the worst of Pixar nonsense. So, and I will say the world of Onward is probably top 10 of the coolest worlds in maybe top 5 in Pixar. Okay. I'll say that. I'll give it that for sure. That's an easy give. But story and risk and dialogue is so, it's everything in a movie to me. So
Yeah.
not in a epic kind of sense, which this is literally an epic, I guess, but in some kind of experiential, planting seeds in your mind. And this, not that any Pixar movie has talked to me on that level, I guess, because I don't think any Pixar movie is very good. But spoilers.
Oh my god, you're killing me.
But Onward does have a little bit of, a little bit of magic. Pun intended. I'll give you that, but it still sits. I will say, after Cars and Lightyear being at the bottom there, which are indistinguishable in quality, and then The Good Dinosaur it sits healthy at number 24.
Mm-hmm.
There's no move in that
Yeah.
one. All right, not right now at least. Between the next 4 are interchangeable on some level. So I will say.
Yeah.
Although I've already told you that my 22 is Incredibles 2.
Okay.
So
my 22
what's your number 22?
is Luca.
Luca.
Yeah.
Luca is my number 21.
Oh.
Luca's
okay.
lame.
Luca is so lame. I wanted more.
Yeah. Actually,
go ahead.
Is that right? Is my number right? Wait, what is Luca? Number 20?
22.
Okay, so I'm getting a little staggered here. Yeah, my 22 was Incredibles. My 21, Luca. Yeah. So
your
sorry.
23 was Onward.
Yep.
And then 22 Luca. I mean, 22 is Luca for me.
And that's 21 for me.
Okay, what's your 22?
22 is Incredibles.
Okay, 22 is Incredibles.
Yeah. Forgot how lame that was. I was thinking of just the dad part.
Which is good.
Yeah, it kind of muddied that for me. And then I forgot that didn't go anywhere.
But yeah, Luca's lame. I mean, after you have something like Coco and building up that culture, heritage, the Mexican culture, and you have all these.
They went the polar opposite with the Italians.
Yes.
Super fantastic with the land of the dead, the realm of the dead.
Yeah.
What would be the proper? I don't know. And then we get this with the Italians. And one thing I think would have elevated this movie really hard is if they would have just embraced the gayness a little more.
Okay.
I feel like they missed that quite a bit, because we could have had maybe a little bit of a, what's that Timothy Chalamet movie?
Good.
Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name. Yeah.
We could have maybe had something developed like that on some level, but this movie wasn't smart enough to go in that direction, and it was just a very nothing movie. Yeah. It ended up being a very nothing movie. I thought we were going to lean into that, and that had the potential to be very cute, but it went nowhere.
Yeah, it was just bleh for me. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't completely terrible like the others, but it wasn't special. I mean, I like that they went the Italian route, but like I said, I want more. I want more Italian. I want you to, overwhelm me with Italian so I can learn about the culture.
The movie could have taken place anywhere. There was nothing Italian about this movie, Yeah. And Coco, well, good luck making that non-Mexican,
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can believe it, of course, because it's Pixar and they make trash, but it just, the potential just is constantly wasted. I can't believe how good Pixar is at wasting potential. And I don't know if that has to do with them hiring interns or just not caring about story and just totally focusing on animation. Is it one of these things like throughout the 80s and 90s, people who made video games were not designers or storytellers. They were all engineers and programmers. Mm-hmm. And so, with the exception of a handful like Final Fantasy and your Nintendo guys, or I should say Square Enix, or I guess at the time Squaresoft and Enix and Nintendo, and a few others, of course, your JRPG, pretty much your Japanese crowd were the storytellers, I guess, of the world. But you had programmers writing stories, people who are just not really trained in any capacity. You know, I feel like that's maybe we still are dealing with some of that today with these high end animation studios, because there's no denying that every single thing on this list is 10 out of 10 in animation. You know, style is one question, you know, one thing, but animation is just so, it's just not enough anymore. I don't know if it ever was. I don't think it was, you know, like, especially like looking back, like on A Bug's Life, don't want to get too ahead of myself, but A Bug's Life has kind of a great, it's not a super fleshed out and dynamic story, but it's a very serviceable, very it has a lot of payoff, and it's one of the probably the weaker animated, I think it's the second Pixar movie, right, made
around there. Yeah,
it hasn't aged beautifully graphically, but it still stands up against almost all the others.
Yes.
Because of its story, you know, and its story's not even amazing, but it does
speak for yourself.
All right, that sounds like you're number one, but yeah, I mean, it just sucks, man, that things like Luca just like.
Yeah, I agree.
Is the next Pixar movie going to be called Nigel, and it's going to take place in Australia? But you know, there's nothing Australian about it.
Maybe
I'll watch it. For free.
For free.
All right, that was my number 21, right?
No, we're on 22. So that was our 22. Next is 21.
Okay, so Luca was my 21. So
Luca,
what's your 21?
My 21 is Brave.
Brave?
Yes.
Yeah, Brave's not amazing.
Brave is not amazing.
There's some really cool things about Brave.
Agreed, yes.
I like all these. That's one of those milestones I feel like Pixar hit with some animation, including hair, of course, and they knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that I Bet You Brave came out right around the same time Tangled did. Maybe a little bit later, like a year max. But they those studios had figured out how to animate hair, and they were gonna shove it in your throat. Yep. They were gonna flex big time, and they did. They did. The Brave girl looks amazing. I mean, and then the bears and the wolves.
The bears, that's what I was going to bring
amazing.
up. Yeah.
And the beards, amazing.
Yes.
And I feel like Brave's also one of the early Pixar, early in quotes, Pixar movies where we start to get a lot of texture in the world.
Okay.
A lot of foliage, like a lot of like actual leaves and grass, and then shit on shelves, and just like stuff within their quarters and everything, and I feel like Brave kind of sits comfortable in that.
Yeah.
That's why it's a little higher. That's pretty much why it's a little higher in mine, just because of the milestone nature of it.
Okay.
And I feel like the Nordic thing kind of speaks to me.
See, that's where I put it a little bit lower, because I couldn't understand a lot of what they said without subtitles, which is not
That's
their
fair.
problem.
No, that is their problem. They butchered.
They butchered.
They went on to butcher several languages, in the Scandinavian area. It's especially English, right? They completely fucked up English. So, thanks for that, you Nords.
But I do agree. Merida looks amazing.
That's her name.
Yeah. Her hair looks amazing. I'm glad they have this wild, fiery, natural redhead. I loved it. I loved the bear, and especially big animals. I love big animals. So I'm glad the mom turned into the bear. I really like that. But that's it. That's all I liked. Okay, Merida is a princess and she doesn't want to get married, girl power, all that stuff. All right, seen it before. I like Mulan's version better. I mean, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, Mulan's the king in that.
Yeah.
Which makes the remake just suck that much worse because the original Mulan is just, or at least the Disney, I don't know if Mulan's a old school story or not, but the Disney animation is just peak Disney.
Yeah.
That 90s, man. They had some good stuff happen out of there. Yeah, I mean, I respect that. Brave being that low. So where are we at? Number 20. Number 20. So my number 20 is obviously Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4. Yeah, I wasn't sure where to place Toy Story 4. That might be one I would change.
You'd make it lower?
I'd make it lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 20 is Onward.
Okay, so we're pretty much still in the pocket there.
Yeah. We basically covered Onward when you mentioned it in your number 20, whatever.
Mm-hmm, yep.
But again, with the world, that's amazing. I don't know any of the mythical creatures' names, but I really like the tiger lady. What was she? She's got the wings.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of it is. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either, but I loved her. I love that she just owns a restaurant now and she's just stressed with the business of running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets her, she has to go save whoever she has to go save, and she gets free and she's like, oh my God, this is like who we're meant to be. Like, I like that. I like, the small, big thing. I like the dad. Although I'm a little, I don't know. I go back and forth with the dad being just pants. Like, the spell didn't finish, so the dad is just pants.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's just stupid, but
It's too stupid for me.
I like that in the end, they were trying to get him, and, they only got him for like 2 seconds, which sucked, but that was, that was a tear jerker for me. I didn't cry a lot like I did in some of the other movies, but I felt it, which if you're making me feel it, I give you points. And then I like that the main guy, I don't remember his name, the boy, Tom Holland plays him.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I like that when he was learning how to drive, he was scared to merge onto the freeway. And I don't think I was ever scared to merge into the freeway, but I know a lot of people are, even today, scared of driving in the freeway and the highway and stuff. So I just thought that was funny. I thought that was a funny bit to include. So it outweighed a lot of the other movies for me.
Yeah.
Those things.
Okay. I get that. We can talk about Toy Story 4 when it pops up on yours and we'll more in depth. I feel like that's what we've kind of been doing.
Okay.
So that's fine with me. So that was number 20.
Mm-hmm.
Number 19 is Monsters University.
No.
That's higher for you?
Yes.
That movie's dog shit.
So much higher.
It's not dog shit. I'm just messing, but it's pretty low for me. It's so
you break
it's
my
so
heart.
it's such a nothing movie.
No, it's not a nothing movie. It's not. All right, let me hear it.
We'll get to it when you.
Oh, when I say it in mine?
Yeah, we
got a while.
That's okay.
It's up there.
I'll just counter everything you have to say.
Okay, my number 19 is Turning Red.
Okay.
I think the movie's cute, but that's it. It's just cute. There is nothing more for me there.
Yeah.
I like the panda, the red panda that she turns into.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. But that's it. The mom in Brave turns into a bear. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I wish it's another one of those movies kind of like Luca where I wish they would have embraced the womanly thing a little more, because obviously, it's a Pixar adaptation of the movie Lady Bird, basically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
I didn't see that.
The panda obviously is representing on some level the period and puberty. It's red, for God's sake. Turning red. I don't know how more obvious you can get. I wish they would have just embraced. This is one of those situations where I wish we would have had that just badass dialogue between the mother and the kid about what comes with growing up and what it means and like what kind of freedoms that gives you and how these decisions are gonna be hard. And I just wish we would have kind of got a real heart to heart between the characters, and it was just a romp between the mom and the kid. Like, the most we got out of that was the dad, which was a fun angle, but it's just not taking itself serious enough, I guess. But it's like trying to. I don't know. I don't appreciate the tease that's happening, because we get that from a little bit from the dad. And I wish we could have just got that extra little bit, because we could have got also a deep dialogue between the little girl and the mom about how her mom was toxic as fuck.
Yes.
And they could have
Yes.
handled that really well, I think, and
That's-
they didn't. Turning
what
Red's
I
pretty
was-
low on me too, but that I think Turning Red's that next milestone of just the detailed environments of
Yeah.
Pixar movies, and it's really that's one reason it's kind of got a little it's a little higher on my list.
Okay.
'Cause-
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's like so surface level, this dynamic between the mom and May. Is that her name? May?
Oh, okay, yeah,
Something, May. I wanted more. I wanted more of a connection. I mean, every young girl, when you hit puberty, you're obnoxious. You know, you're going through all these changes, and especially, you know, having something as crazy as bleeding all of a sudden random, and you don't know what to do, and you have all these hormones, and now this is something you have to live with for a long time. You need those fights with your mom, and you need those hearts to hearts with your mom, and they just made those so surface levels. I wanted more. I wanted to cry.
yeah. We should have had more time with them instead of her
Yes.
with her friends all the time.
Yeah.
Because, and I get they want to have that levity, and they do constantly. Especially, they literally do constantly. Because even when she's like at home without her friends, you know, by herself in her room, she's breaking the bed or she's falling in the curtains. You know, it's just like, and that's fine, but it's just kind of nonstop with the comedy in this
Yeah.
movie, and you know, it's not Marvel-esque, but it is in that way. Just chill, you know. Let's get some
Yes.
seriousness, because you're hitting on a really amazing topic right now, and this is your chance, Disney, or Pixar, which is I guess Disney, your chance to create something really
Profound for children.
profound for children. And your obvious target audience are 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. So like,
Mhm.
this is your chance to really speak to them. And I got news for you. 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls are smart. You know, they're ready. They're sponges.
Yep.
They're ready to take advice. They're ready to learn shit in a very serious way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree, but even with the comedy, I mean, you have the scene where her mom is like, "Oh, you forgot these," and it's like her pads or tampons or whatever, and that's funny, but that's it. That's just funny. And
Yeah.
then the bit where her mom finds the drawings of these boys under the bed, and then she goes and confronts the boy that May had drawn, and she's like, "What do you want with my daughter?" And they're funny, they're embarrassing, they're hilarious, but that's it. That's why it's a little bit higher up in my list, because I do like some of that funny embarrassment that happens. But I do think this movie had so much potential
Yeah.
to speaking to those young girls.
It also makes little girls look a little bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't justify, not that it needs to justify anything, but it doesn't do though that age any service. It makes them look just silly, and there's a very complicated thing happening in their mind at that moment.
Mhm.
Like, and I know it's just a dumb animated movie, but it feels like they could have made people feel not alone on some level.
Yeah.
And it's
You're Pixar. You have that power.
you really do. And not that they would do that a lot anywhere, but I feel like Pixar should start doing that, because they are always on, not always, but they often get right up to that point of saying something really profound and interesting, but they just never go the extra mile. They never go the artistic mile. They stop, like story-wise at least. Because I hate to say it, but man, they can be the kings of animation, which they're not anymore, I will say.
Yeah.
But they're creating things, you'd think they'd want to create things that are timeless. And they're creating things that are just impressive at the very minute they come out with the animation. You know?
Yeah.
Lady Bird's timeless. Will always be timeless. That will be a movie remembered in 100 years. Because it's so classy in how it handles a 16-year-old girl coming of age. or she's maybe 18 actually. I think she's going to college. It's that transition, so this one's kind of a little earlier than that, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
Timothée Chalamet is probably the weakest part of that movie, and he's great. But yeah, Turning Red's actually one of the few Pixar movies that I toss around in my head pretty constantly, and because unlike Luca would have still suffered from other shitty things, like not actually having a plot, if it embraced its gayness. Still would have been, it would have just embraced its gayness, and that would not have been enough. But this was so close to being really special. And if it would have had those monologues, those dialogues, I could have seen this movie reaching my top 5.
Yeah, I
pretty
completely
easily
agree.
Because it's like I said, it was one of those benchmark animated movies for Pixar, with especially texture in the world. So it speaks to me deeply on that level. And it's got fun variety and characters, and it's got that dad is always a fun angle, and her friends, and it's them trying to like make money at school, and they're into K-pop or whatever, or J-pop, whatever they're into. Or it's not even, I guess it's kind of like K-pop. I guess they're just white boys, aren't they?
Yeah.
But
boy band.
Some boy band, yeah. So yeah, I hate it for it. That's probably one of my harder ones it's one of the harder ones to sit with me, it's hard to place it that low, because I'm just like, because at first when I watched it, I was like 2.5, kind of thing, and then it was a 2 pretty much a couple days after, and then it's been reached down to 1.5 on my letterbox, and that's pretty much strictly because of animation. If everything was animated as well as a Pixar movie, and there was not just a difference in that realm, most of the Pixar movies would probably hit that 1 star out of 5 on my letterbox.
Oh my gosh.
I hate to say it, but nice. What number are we on? 18?
Yeah.
18's Brave for me.
18 is Brave for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And did I talk about Brave?
You talked a bit about the
yeah, I liked
animation.
What's her name? Maribella?
Oh.
Maribel?
Merida.
Maribella is from Encanto.
That's Maribel.
Maribel.
Yeah, Merida.
Merida. She's a fun character. I like her. It feels like it's been a minute, but in my mind's eye, there's a complete story happening there. It is kind of just a Mulan in Scandinavia.
Yep.
A little less ambitious too. No, there's no war, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just young men from other colonies.
She doesn't want to marry anyone.
And she don't want to marry anyone.
Yeah, it's a little trite and everything. So it's fine. It's good.
And her mom's kind of forcing her to pick someone. It's
a little vanilla. It doesn't tease you with the things that Turning Red might, everything, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
What's your number?
My number 18 is, are you ready for this?
Are you ready for this?
Up.
Up, yeah. Ups, yeah.
Up.
I will say these next 4 or 5 are the next set that are kind of hard, interchangeable with me, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Up is overrated.
Up's probably the most overrated Pixar movie.
Up is your favorite Pixar movie,
you're boring.
You are boring.
And you have terrible taste.
Yeah, Up is overrated. I think it's good.
The first 15 minutes?
The first 15 minutes.
The first 15 minutes
excellent.
Are amazing storytelling. Maybe 10 out of 10 in some scenarios.
Yes.
It's got great setup with the boy, the old man living in this janky house, and modernity is growing up around him, and he's just not he can't let go of it. But I can't blame him. It's his fucking property, fuck them.
Yeah.
But it's good, and the balloons and like just the whole setup is so good, and then the moment they get to where they're going, it's just drops off the face of the planet. It sucks.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, if the highs weren't as high at the first 15 minutes, I'd probably put Up in my bottom 5. That's how high the highs are.
Agreed.
And that's not I don't know about the regular Up fan. Is that what they love? I feel like the Up people do kind of bring up the beginning a little too much, and if that's all you like, I'm sorry, but that's only 10% of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. So what else do you like about it? That's not enough, I feel like, but if it is, I guess more power to you. If that has enough momentum to get you through the movie, cool. I don't have that in me.
The first time I watched Up, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was so stupid. It probably would be in my worst 5 movies. But the second time I saw it, I really appreciated the first 15 minutes of it more than I did when I first watched it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's a little bit higher on my list. But yeah, after the balloons, after they land at whatever falls they're trying to get to, that's it. It's done. It's over. The talking dog collars is very childish.
Yeah.
It's super cringe. I mean, the dynamic between Russell and the old man, I forgot his name, it's not great. It's okay. I think it could have been a lot better, especially because Russell is obviously having some sort of problems with his parents, with his dad.
Yeah.
His dad's not taking him to his Boy Scout thingies. So they could have developed that a lot better. I mean, maybe people just like the movie because it's sad. It's a sad movie. It's very sad.
The first few minutes are sad.
He keeps talking to his dead wife. He keeps bringing her up. This is what she always dreamed of, and she's not there. So if you have that in mind the whole movie,
yeah, sure,
then yes, I can see the potential for it to be so sad.
Yeah, they should have not included the talking dogs and the bad guy at all. That shouldn't have been there at all, and it should have just been between Russell and the old guy.
Yes.
And maybe, the bird, I guess, could maybe play a role, and that could be the comic relief for the uber sad movie that we're having an old man dealing with outliving his best friend.
Yeah. Yes.
And a boy dealing with not having proper, paternal guidance in life. He's what, 12? He's about that time, just like the Turning Red girl, who needs some guidance, some advice, a friend in life. That's a lot of people's lowest times is going through early puberty and not feeling like you feel alone when you're, when you're not, but.
And I like that they tried to pair them. I think that's a thing that this society should be more of, taking care of our elderly people. And I wish they would have shoved that message a little bit more.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. And
they didn't. I mean, they had it there. They had it. And
he even says at the very beginning he's got to get his badge to help the old people, right?
The elderly.
And they really could have, they tease you with it. They could have embraced that.
Yeah.
They just choose, especially this is one of those Pixar movies. Not all of them do this, but this is especially one of those that they're trying to talk to those 3-year-olds. Those 4-year-olds,
With the talking dogs.
The talking dogs and stuff. Especially
and the villain.
the stupid Doberman or whatever dog, the big one.
Oh my god, yes.
Has a squeaky voice. Just like,
That's the cringiest.
You're not setting this kind of movie up. Especially Up is not setting this movie up. Especially, those first 15 minutes. It's hardcore. Turning Red gets a little bit of a pass for allowing to be a little bit stupid because it pretty much stays stupid all the way
throughout
through.
The floor, yeah.
But those first 15 minutes are, they can be pretty tough. That's why I'm confident that's why people love Up, because of those first 15 minutes, which are some of the best storytelling in all of animation.
Yeah.
That might be the best 15 minutes out of every Pixar movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there's just, the lows are so fucking low. The stupid ass ultimate villain with, he's the old explorer. Are you fucking kidding me? That's where we land on at the end of this, and then they got to deal with that, and they're fucking G.I. Joes climbing around on the blimp and stuff, and the dogs are wagging around. It's just
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's amazing. I forgot. I remembered at the time, of course, while watching them, but I forgot right now, and being reminded how much potential Pixar films have, and they don't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I know recently, Guillermo del Toro, the Pinocchio guy,
Yeah.
recent Pinocchio movie, he's done some other stuff, right? Have you seen his other stuff?
Pan's
Labyrinth,
he
Shape
did
of Water.
The Cabinets.
Well,
of
yeah, he
Curiosity?
didn't make. He
He didn't
just
do that?
he just.
I think that's the only thing I've seen.
You watched all those?
No.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah, those are
first
fine.
couple.
Those are fine. But the Pinocchio, which you watched, I think, a little bit, but more importantly, well, that's actually, I guess, the important point that I'm going to bring up, but he did Shape of Water, which is a very great film, and Pan's Labyrinth, which is probably his most famous film, which I'm pretty sure has to do with growing up, actually, and through a really fantastical lens, which is what we'll get to, I think, if I remember correctly. But he recently said, here in the last 6 months or so, that he wants to change the perception of, animated movies, and that they can be for adults too. And I'm just like, yeah, but like, don't we already have that? And then you think about it a little more, that the best we have that on really is probably anime. Is animated stuff being for more adults, and adults as in not the squeaky dog, not the Marvel nonsense and stuff, actual conversations happening, not sex, blood, and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just actual themes that carry through a movie and are, people are written like fucking people. People talk like real people. I like it when people talk like they're real. That's cool. That's why Marriage Story is so famous, right? When I was editing one of the recent podcasts, we were talking about horror.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, with the way I was saying the things I was saying in the podcast, this is real meta, right? Talking about other podcasts that we made.
In the podcast.
Ooh. I was thinking about A Marriage Story. Because I said sometimes yelling can be scary, I think. And A Marriage Story's got a lot of yelling. And I was just like, damn, that is low-key sort of a horror movie. Because it's about divorce. And it's got a lot of yelling. And it's got a kid involved, and the kid's being pulled back and forth. There's something deeply disturbing about that, right? And it's just unfortunate that Pixar has been in many positions to elevate animation, because I think Guillermo del Toro is on the right page. We don't have proper cinematic experiences through the animated lens that are serious and that tell real stories. We don't have very many. I challenge you to find 5. Anyone, send them to me in the mail. I'm just joking. No address.
Filmsteins.
At the Filmsteins at Gmail. Yeah, email. Filmstein at gmail.com. Send me an email of 5 high quality adult matter animated films that are not anime, because I do believe that's where that kind of lives, and I think that can be served in a different manner through a cinematic experience. Not better, not for me to say. That's for you to say. But there's so much wasted potential in so many Pixar movies, and I'm off my diatribe now. Thank you for listening.
That was the end.
That was the end.
No, I completely agree with your statement. I think they have potential that they don't take because there are children involved. I don't know, because there are parents who are overprotective and overbearing, and just, the Karens of our society aren't going to accept it, and they want to actually make money, so they omit a lot of that adult real life content. Okay, but
yeah,
you can't be scared. You're starting it. Those 15 minutes of Up, you started it. Embrace it. Finish it.
And I hate to say that. I mean, as much as I do like the new Mario movie, it doesn't help our case for wanting more serious animated films. But Guillermo del Toro says he wants to continue making animated films, for that matter,
which is awesome.
Which is dope. I hope we see them both. I feel like there's a lot of space for both, because there's simply just not enough animation out there anyways. So it's hard to really criticize it on a deep level because there's just not enough of it to, say we're missing it.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to, I guess at the end of the day, because there's so little, we got to speak to the lowest common denominator to make the money. So hopefully things change.
And I agree. We need both. Sometimes after watching a very deep movie that leaves me in an existential crisis, I need that Mario movie to lift me up a bit. So yeah, we need both.
Yeah. I guess if you're just going to go down the Mario route, embrace the Mario route. That's probably, I guess, the problem with what I'm getting at with Pixar is they won't embrace their setup.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have an identity, I don't think, when it comes to theme and matter of content. Their identity is the quality of their animation, which they don't have anything to worry about. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's being challenged today. So where are you going to go, Pixar? Hate to say it, but the Mario movie looks just as good, if not better, than anything come out of Pixar. The Puss in Boots movie is very easily the most amazing animated movie ever fucking made. All right, who made that? Was that DreamWorks?
Is that DreamWorks? I mean, Shrek is DreamWorks.
I think so, yeah. And then, not to mention the Sony animated movies with Mitchell and the Machines and the Spider-Man movies. I mean, they helped pave the way for the new animation scene. So what are we at? Number 17?
17.
Turning Red.
Turning Red. 17.
That's my number 17.
So for 17, I have Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
I had no idea where to place this.
It's a hard one to place. There's some cuteness happening, especially before they get to the, before they go on to the road trip, I guess. Like everything that has to do with Forky is actually pretty good.
That's what I was going to say.
Which doesn't make any fucking sense. We've had 3 Toy Story movies with these characters who are amazing in different ways, each character, right? But we neuter everyone except Woody. We give Bo Peep balls, all right? And then we introduce the most interesting new character ever to happen. And
it's a fork.
And it's a fucking spork with gum shoes. So,
what?
This is a mess, and I know there's an amazing 4 or 5 hour analysis of the movie that goes through every single second and talks about why it's so bad. He would probably put it at number 26. He thinks every single second of this movie is terrible. It's pretty amazing, actually. It's probably one of the most impressive analyses I've ever seen of anything ever made. It's amazing. And he deserves a PhD. Dead ass.
I placed this movie a little higher than the rest. Although, again, I had no idea where to place it. I like Forky. I like that. I don't know. He just looks cool, I think.
Sure. Absolutely.
I like that Woody is just fighting with himself on being a toy, being for children, being a lost toy, helping people get their toys. Like, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, just like this movie.
Yeah, sure. And I can't imagine what it must be like for a toy that's gonna live for fucking ever and what to do with himself. So I like that he's going through this internal whatever.
But we already had the beautiful Cap with Toy Story 3. The hand-me-down toys. That's what fucking happens to your toys.
But that wasn't okay with he wasn't okay with that.
They made it. They made that so. They certainly did.
Yeah, but that wasn't good enough for him. Maybe it was good enough for the other toys that aren't a part of this storyline, but it wasn't good enough for Woody. He wanted something else. So I think I agree that Toy Story 3 should have been it. Should have been the end of the Toy Stories. It would have been a beautiful ending. But I'm not mad that they did this. I'm not too bad.
I'm offended.
I like I like the end.
I hate the end.
Where they separate.
Mm-hmm.
And Buzz and Woody are like, all right, man. You're on your way. I'm on my way. Cool. Because they have been together for how many years? So many years. It's a new path. It's a new...
Probably 14, 15 years, right?
Yeah, and it's time for them to do something else. These toys are...
Well,
for...
him and Buzz,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the others for...
Since Andy was born maybe.
Probably, yeah. And, I mean, these toys are living forever. They need their new chapters. They need their new lives. So, I kind of like that. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but...
Yeah, I don't like that because it starts to open up this door of you can be things that you're not. Toys are toys. They're going to be... They have a purpose to serve, and they have a place to stay in. So, opening up that door that Woody can be free and not be a toy, basically, is a fundamental problem I have with, I guess, sort of being self-aware to the point that you know your place in the world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, I hate to bring up, like, the trans thing, that you can just...
be whatever.
Be whatever. I know there's a place for that.
Yeah.
Especially in the gender conversation, less the sex conversation. But it's not just something that happens overnight, and it seems to be that way with Woody. I know they tried to give us some backstory with setting up he's in love with Bo Peep or whatever.
Yeah.
To kind of be the catalyst for him breaking off from the friend, his bunch, you know, his crew when they reconnect, right? And it just doesn't work for me. Their relationship was never that, Bo Peep and Woody. She kind of gave these hints of being, you know, kind of a badass, but being ladylike or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
When she was at the house. Right, if I remember correctly, or is that just a flashback that happens in the beginning of 4? I'm not sure.
No, I mean, she cares for Woody.
She cares for Woody.
I think there is a scene maybe where they might kiss, or she might lean on him.
Yeah.
Something like that. She like drags him with her.
In one of the other Toy Stories?
In one of the other Toy Stories.
Yeah, that's fine. The kissing thing... Maybe a little weird if that happened. I think it's just a lean, though.
I think she drags him with her little cane, and then we assume it was a kiss.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I don't think there was an actual kiss. I don't remember, though.
Yeah, that's because the kiss would bring up that conversation of knowing what your content is. It's toys. Toys don't kiss. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like...
Well, toys do kiss.
I mean, that's a good point.
I make my
You make your toys kiss. I mean,
all the time.
I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
And
the
that's
play
where I
part
was
of
going to
it.
go with it. That, I don't know, maybe I played too hardcore, but my toys did everything. And I would have loved for my toys to have this life when I'm old. You know?
Yeah.
I played with a lot of toys growing up.
Yeah.
You know, from Barbies to Bratz to Polly Pockets to Play Food to, you know, I had my fair share of Toy Story toys, the Slinky, Mr. Potato Head, and I guess for me it would be awesome if I knew my toys had
a future.
But that's just the type of child I was and am to this day. I give inanimate objects too much emotions.
Well, so did the creators of Toy Story.
So that's my feelings on this. I liked it. I like that they did that. I like that Woody is gonna get to go on with Bo Peep.
Let me tell you why I hate that end. Is because it sets up a fucking TV show. Woody and Bo Peep's adventures, season 1 through 57, and I fucking hate that.
Okay.
Hate that. That's why I hate that, because it sets that up.
And I liked it because it's a goodbye. It's a goodbye to your friends.
Yeah,
people you know.
I guess I'm definitely more on the angle of that toy occupying the toy space, and that's why I like Toy Story 3 so much, is because it's a very full circle kind of moment, which is that's Woody's whole fucking point.
Yes.
Through the first 3 movies, basically.
Which...
And that's why I was kind of saying you can't just Woody's character is not going to just change after 20 years, you know? And I get there's like an element of an existential kind of crisis and an identity crisis within Woody, because he was with Andy for so long, and now he's with Bonnie, and he's not the favorite, and he's just a regular toy now, and so there's like this, you know, superiority kind of complex being shattered without any control, you know, because it's up to Bonnie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something interesting there, but that doesn't go anywhere, except it evolves into I want to be free, I guess, and it's just it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I after saying all that I've said, I do think it's missing something that the other movies have. It's like this movie could have been a standalone movie. If you didn't know anything about the other Toy Stories, Woody is just a toy that gets basically replaced by Forky, and not even replaced because he's not really Bonnie's favorite. And Bonnie needs a new comfort toy, and Woody's now like, well, what am I gonna do? Well, let me help this toy become her comfort toy. I do agree that it doesn't float with the other movies. It shouldn't have been Toy Story 4. It should have been Toy Story Woody's final hurrah. I don't know.
I guess they were maybe hesitant to go down that route of being kind of a mentor for Forky, because that's exactly what we got in Cars 3.
That's true.
So maybe they didn't want that kind of repetition. I don't know which one came first. I can't remember, but I think Cars 3 came out first, if I had to guess, but I'm not sure. Toy Story 4, what was it at for you?
17,
21 for me, so really not that far apart.
Yeah,
but
even if I would have put in 21, I think Up was worse. So
yeah, it would have been a little more interesting if Woody had these moments with Andy where he...
With Andy?
Mm-hmm, where he wanted more out of life than just to be Andy's toy. If they could have set that up that many years before, which would have been impossible, because, you know, I'm willing to bet people who worked on Toy Story 4 probably they were completely unrelated to people who worked on Toy Story 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I imagine there's like no overlap there because, you know, I mean, you can probably cut it from a few different ways, but it almost feels like they didn't watch the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that's not like, we're not creating the cinematic world of Toy Story. You know, that's not the most important thing here. It's not the coherency and the continuity of it all is not what's important here, because it's not Marvel. We're not setting up this big ass thing or whatever. I don't know if Marvel has good continuity anyways. Something tells me it doesn't, but not the shit on Marvel on every episode.
You found another way to bring Marvel in.
Well, I wonder how we're going to bring in Harry Potter, because we bring that up quite a bit too. I don't even love Harry Potter that much, but we bring it up in every episode.
I do.
But it just, I didn't realize it until I guess recently that the consistency of character is kind of important to me.
Okay.
Because it low-key completely fucking stalls me when something's out of character.
Okay.
And, you know, the biggest offender in Toy Story 4 is obviously Buzz. Buzz got fucking wrecked in this movie.
I think they do Buzz dirty in this movie and in other Toy Story movies.
Maybe it's a progression that's happening there. Because, you know, of course, if you look at Toy Story 4 to 1, Buzz is completely, radically 2 different characters.
Yep.
But I don't know. Maybe that's one reason. That's Buzz. Buzz's deconstruction of his identity is one of the greatest things that ever happened on television. You know what I mean?
Yes.
His existential, his literal existential
yes.
crisis is amazing. See, and they ran out of the gate with that, Pixar did. And that's just that's probably the most interesting thing we've ever gotten out of Pixar. And that was the very first fucking movie.
Yeah.
Was Buzz's breakdown.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That movie's like not even an hour long. It's a little bit more, I think. It's like an hour and 15 or something like that. Short ass movie too. Anyways, I've said enough about Toy Story 4, I think. Have I?
Yes.
Okay. What number are we on?
Number 16.
Inside Out.
Inside Out is your number 16.
Inside Out is the most trite ass movie I've ever seen in my life. It almost got lower.
Okay. Yeah, I had trouble placing I had trouble placing Toy Story I had trouble placing the Toy Stories besides the first one. I just put them in 17, 16, and 15.
Wow. They all got right next to each other.
They all got right next to each other because I just did not know what to do with them.
That's crazy.
So 17 was Toy Story 4, which we just talked about. 16 for me is Toy Story 2. Inside Out is a little bit higher up for me, but 16 is Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 was probably my favorite out of the Toy Stories until we saw it again recently, and I'm just like, I don't know what I was thinking. It's not bad, it's not bad. It's a decent sequel to Toy Story 1, and it's got some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that's probably the hallmark of this movie, is it's just independent scenes from one another.
Yes. Together, I don't know about that.
There's probably 5 or 6 that are really excellent scenes, but they just don't. Yeah, there's not a lot of story happening here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of story. And the bit with Woody and he's going to be in a museum, I'm not sure what's going on with that. But the scene where Woody gets fixed by that old guy, talk about beautiful.
Arguably the most iconic scene in Pixar.
Yes. Everyone
remembers that. It's kind of like the Up beginning where that's what's in your mind's eye when you think about Toy Story 2.
Yes.
And it charts so high on people's, list of ranking of Pixar movies because of that. I'm willing to bet exclusively because of that.
That scene, the toy store scene.
Which we did not spend enough time there.
We did not spend enough time there, I agree. And the chicken dude in the chicken costume, I love that.
Yeah, and he's hardly in the movie.
There. And that's it. And that it's these very highs for me that are very hard to place because it's so high. That scene where, Woody gets fixed, it's marvelous. It's, if you're even a tiny bit OCD, it just fills all those OCD pleasures. I mean, talk about beautiful. And that's it.
That's a big flex on animation.
Yeah.
What, 1998, maybe 97?
Yeah.
Maybe 99. Yeah, huge flex on animation. I mean, I think undeniably the most iconic scene in Pixar.
Yeah,
is that toy fixing scene. Yeah, and we don't spend nearly enough time in the mall. That's probably, in retrospect, or at least after watching it recently, the mall scene is probably my favorite. And we're there for minutes. Like, it's just nothing, in and out. And that's where they introduce Zorg.
Yep.
Sort of. He's not really introduced for any meaning, but
he's just in the video game they play, and they're like, oh, he's real.
Yeah, and
that's it. I guess.
I wish we could have tied him in a little more.
Yeah, and then Buzz gets switched. So now there are 2 Buzzes, and which one is the real Buzz? Like, okay. Seems kind of childish. The scene at the end where they're on the plane already and they're rescuing Woody, like, it's just okay.
Yeah, that reminds me also of Up with the blimp, and it's just like, we're losing control of what these things are.
Yes.
They're toys still. We got to remember what we're dealing with. All right. Yeah, I feel you. I had trouble pinning down Toy Story 2 as well. I'd probably bring it down a little further after talking about it, but that's probably true with a lot of this. I don't know. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'd probably bring it down all the way to number 15. My next one. We'll just put it there.
Okay.
So 15 is my next one. Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 3
Toy Story 3
is my
your
next one.
Yeah, you're wrong on this one. You're completely wrong at putting Toy Story 3
I
so
did
far
not
low.
know where to place
Toy Story 3 is one of the more sophisticated Pixar movies, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. It's the only one that fully delivers. It's the only Pixar movie that fully delivers on its message.
Yeah, I don't know.
It gets a little ambitious, I will say. The garbage scene is obviously the shittiest part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most trash part of the movie. I will say that, yeah.
I think a little bit of the daycare scenes are also kind of trash.
A little long, maybe.
Yeah, just something about them I didn't quite like.
Overdone. I can see that for sure. I can see maybe shaving off 15 minutes of here and there of that kind of stuff. Because I think if you have any brains, you will quickly put together what's happening here at the daycare. We've got rejected toys, donated toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really themselves don't really have purpose all of a sudden, right? And they're having to face this. And then there's this whole totalitarian thing involved here, which is kind of neat. Yep. That you could imagine happening in this scenario with just a whole smorgasbord of different toys, right? And it's cool that it's a fucking
bear.
A
bear that smells like strawberries.
That's fun.
Yeah.
But he's very serious. He's not like that stupid ass dog from Up, right? He's kind of the opposite. He looks friendly, right? At first he feels kind of friendly, like a nice sheriff in town and whatever. But then when you get to know him and see who's, really pulling the strings here, he's pretty scary. Unlike the dog where he looks scary because he's a Doberman, but he sounds, which is arguably the most important thing about how you kind of build an image of person, right? Ironically, right? I think it's the way someone speaks, the way the cadence of their voice is probably the main thing is gonna really stick in your mind about an individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they nail that with the bear.
Yeah.
You would agree?
Oh, I agree.
They wheel him around on the fucking truck. The dump truck. Love it. What were you gonna say though?
No, Lotso,
that's his name.
Every scene he is in is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the Ken Barbie bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great little minor CB plot.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
Very cute. And also, the timing of this movie. They did that.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Kind of like Monsters University.
Yeah,
they nailed that. That's genius-ass filmmaking.
Genius.
And that's just another thing. Pixar, you can only do that. That's so rare, the times you can pull that kind of stuff off, right? Who does that? Pixar's done it twice with Monsters University now. Toy Story 3, right? David Lynch has done it, right? With Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And...
It
did it.
Yeah.
Spider-Man did it with the 3 Spider-Mans.
Spider-Man.
Which is ironically Disney. But, I challenge you to find 5 more. Those things are so interesting rare. And so artistically just mind-blowing, Yeah. Especially a meta level of it where, David Lynch's thing was like, I'll be back in 17 years. He let us know that he'd be back. But you have to think about the timing. It's a little obvious, obviously, right? Toy Story comes out in 1995 or 6 or whatever, and then this one comes out in 2014 or 15 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, the timing is, if you just think about it for 5 seconds, you'll realize what has happened here. But I guess it goes to show you that even obvious things can be genius,
Yeah,
I think that's
for sure. I think that was awesome. This is probably one of the movies out of all the Pixar movies that made me cry the most.
How is this not higher?
I'm telling you, I did not know where to place these.
Okay,
I just
okay.
couldn't.
Okay.
Don't take the Toy Story 3, maybe Toy Story 2. I'm not sure about that one, but definitely Toy Story 3. I did not know where to place it. Now thinking about it, I should have ranked it higher. Why is Inside Out higher than this?
What?
I don't know. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
It's not something I'm going to stand here and put my foot down that it's number 15.
Good to hear that.
No.
Good to hear that.
Because it does have some amazing things in it. I love that at the end, Lotso gets put on that 18-wheeler, like the front part of it, the grill part of it.
That was awesome, yeah.
That was awesome. And the timing. I can't get over the timing of
Yes, it's amazing.
movie. It just, talk about nostalgia, talk about the feels, talk about the old.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this movie I should have ranked higher. Where? Yeah. I don't know. So it's staying at 15.
That's fine. Another, I guess, to kind of pull off your timing, Andy growing up, I guess not just the timing for us, but Andy actually grew up.
Yeah.
And he's not having, but he is having to face these questions. What do I do with this stuff that I love, that I have loved for 2 decades? And it's just undeniably familiar. Everyone, especially in a country where you can have lots of toys and you go to school and have friends and you grow up and you can go to college and things like that, you're going to face these questions. You know, everyone, I don't know about you, but I would be willing to bet everyone has had to face the question of, what do I do with these toys that are just not for my age?
Yeah.
You know, we've all, I'm sure you can find instances in everyone's life playing with toys, in quotes, toys that were not, and it's supposed to be played, in quotes, supposed to be played by a 16-year-old or whatever,
Yeah.
It speaks on such a insecure and primitive level, an inevitable level of growing up, that it's I guess it's the opposite of what happened in Turning Red. Is this kind of thing is timeless, especially if you can group up Toy Story 1 and 3. 2 is not so important to the overarching plot of Andy. It's more about Woody, obviously, having to realize that no, Andy is actually his whole life, which makes Toy Story 4 look, silly. But Toy Story 4 also happened after Woody having to deal with Andy growing up. And so there's something interesting there, no doubt. And I think it's just handled poorly in Toy Story 4. And like I said, that video, man, he goes into how bad the filmmaking actually is of it, which is crazy because it's animated and everything is curated to a very specific thing, to happen. It's nuts. I guess I'll just, you won't sit through that 4-hour video probably, but maybe watching the first 10 minutes and it will blow your mind. It's nuts. It's nuts.
I'll think about it.
I'm sure you can find that in so many animated movies because, whatever. But I'm glad to hear you're willing to move Toy Story 3 around.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. So
what
number was that?
That was 15.
15? I didn't tell you my 15, did I?
You said you moved Toy Story 2 there? Is that what you said?
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Toy Story 2 became my 15. Okay, so now I'm moving it up. I'm going to pause it. All right. My number 14 is Finding Dory.
What?
Just another vanilla movie. It serves its purpose. It's serviceable. I mean, it delivers, but it's got nothing on Finding Nemo.
Yeah, my number 13 is Finding Dory.
Okay, so we're right in the pocket.
My number 14 is Inside Out.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we covered Inside Out.
No.
But it's cute. I like the idea of these emotions. And especially being at that age, I think it's hard to place a name to your emotions. I mean, even now, a lot of adults have a very hard time placing a name to their emotions.
Yeah, most people's emotions don't grow up.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been through therapy. One of the first things they give you is an emotion wheel. so you can learn how to place your emotions. And in that emotion wheel, they give you an emotion like anger. Okay, that's an emotion.
It's an extreme emotion.
Yeah, it's an emotion that we often feel, but past anger, they give you more specific types of anger. Are you irritated? Are you disturbed? Are you, anxious? So it lets you place a big category of emotion, and then you can further it to make it more specific, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think this is why I like this movie. I think this is why it's a cute movie, because I like placing names to emotions because it helps you get your shit together.
I do too. I just feel like it doesn't go anywhere.
Yes.
We get two of the most boring emotions out there.
Happy
we get joy.
and
Yeah.
sadness.
What, happy? Is that what it is?
Joy. It's joy.
Joy and sadness.
Joy and sadness. Yes.
It doesn't get any more boring than that. And I get we are dealing with a young adolescent girl who, well, she's full of different emotions. And I get they play up the permutations of the emotions, the combinations of the 6 or whatever, the 5 or 6 that there are. But they don't take it anywhere. I'm not sure how long we spend in the cabin of emotions, but like the characters, but
yeah.
Joy immediately, or at least it feels like in my mind's eye, it goes on a quest to find sadness or to find the core memories or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is this movie? Like, it's a nothing movie. It doesn't go anywhere.
I wish they would have developed some of the other emotions, because you're right, joy and sadness are some of the worst emotions.
What was the girl's name?
I don't remember.
Well, I wish they would have developed her a little bit more. She was dealing with moving.
Yeah.
Were her parents divorcing?
No, they were just moving.
Separating. But that's catastrophic for a modern little kid moving. What was she, 13?
Yeah, around.
She's going through puberty. you
Yeah.
know, she probably had a boyfriend. That would, or at least she
doubt it.
didn't. They could have maybe played into that, having like a little boyfriend, or her friends that she's had. Maybe
Yeah.
she's had lifelong friends. We don't know anything about the girl.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but these emotions they're completely pointless without her. You know, these aren't characters. You know, it's kind of like the toy thing over and over again, right? There needs to be these emotions need to know their fucking place. They're not independent little things going around in your head, right? They're not little symbiotes in their own.
I think that's the point. I think the point is that this girl needs to, which I agree, we need to have more of her, but she's just a kid that only knows those 5 emotions. She hasn't gotten a developed emotion wheel. She only knows these 4 emotions, doesn't know how to combine them, hasn't learned that yet, and that's what this is trying to teach her. Because I think they picked joy and sadness for a specific reason, to be the main 2 emotions. As a kid, you mainly experience happiness or sadness. And, you get sprinkles of anger, you get sprinkles of guilt. That's, I think, even one of the more difficult emotions for kids to feel. Anger is probably like the 3rd one, and disgust, is that the other emotion?
Maybe
And I feel like they should have developed them a little further, because kids are angry, man. Kids are angry. Kids are rough. Anger should have been up there with joy and
anger
sadness.
is more important than sadness.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because if they would have developed the little girl a little more, that would have helped develop the emotions. Because what's really cool about this movie is we see the girl, and then we see the emotions. And then when the girl acts a certain way, those emotions are in our head playing, pulling the triggers.
Yeah.
Pulling the levers. They set that up greatly, but we immediately forget about the human in this, the most important player in all of this. It's all of a sudden about...
Yeah, it all of a sudden becomes an adventure with joy.
An epic, really. Because it becomes, it's just this ethereal thing that's got, that's mega ambitious, and it's just she's having to travel to these different islands to, and then everything's falling apart, and the core memories are each becoming lost, and it loses sight of what it had, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The only reason this is a little bit higher than some of the other ones, I like Bing Bong.
Bing Bong's cool.
I think he's a great side character, great sidekick, however you want to phrase it.
And we don't get a lot of sidekicks in Pixar movies.
And when he disappears, I might even choke up now.
Yeah, that was pretty...
Oh my God.
Pretty sad.
Talk about heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Yeah. This is...
that's the reason it's up there.
I get
a
that.
Little bit higher
I get
for
that.
me.
I get that. I feel you. Bing Bong he's cool.
And I don't know about you, but I played with my toys a lot when I was young.
You still play with your toys a lot?
Yeah, I still play with my toys.
Not just kidding.
I took them everywhere. I took them in the car. I took them to take a bath. I took them to the bed. If one wasn't facing whatever we were doing, me and the other toys, whatever we were doing, if one of them was turned away, I had to go turn him, the way to look. If I was watching something like, scary or some two characters kissing on the screen, I'd turn him away so we wouldn't see. Cycle out the toys, make sure one wasn't getting left behind. I didn't do the imaginary friend thing, but
I didn't either. That's low-key psychotic, but
but the toys were my kind of imaginary friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're arguably not any different from one another.
Yeah.
Imaginary friends and toys being that friend. Yeah.
And I played with my toys a little longer than I probably should have.
No, you didn't. You good.
Yeah. It's like 12, 13, I stopped playing with toys.
That's fine.
And none of my friends were.
No, they were. They were.
I don't know, man.
They
weren't admitting it.
They weren't. No, I promise you. Well, yeah, you're a little more open in that way, I will say.
Okay.
But there was something in their life that they would not let go, in quotes, to their childhood like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
that's what I was saying earlier, is there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
There really is.
So I guess with Bing Bong, that was, he was her imaginary friend. But I had my one toy or my one whatever that I just held on to.
Yeah.
And you gave it so much emotion. You gave it your everything. Like, you would talk to it. You would hug it when, my mom would make me angry or make me cry.
Yeah. I
will hug my toy. I was,
Yeah, it's amazing that even as a child you can put that much power into something. It's kind of really sad that we lose that ability for something to inspire us. Like it's because it demonstrates this artifice of inspiration and willpower and comfort, right? In an innocent kind of way, which is really amazing. But it's like almost like we almost emotionally forget that we have that ability to put that on other stuff after we grow up. Like we have the power to not feel bad about whatever, but we as a child, we put that comfort and ability to comfort us in something that's not, in real quotes, not alive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like, maybe your life doesn't demand it. I don't know. I think it does. I think everyone's life does demand, some kind of comfort like that. Maybe people's beds are the comfort now.
My bed and my cat.
The depression blanket.
My depression blanket, yeah.
Yeah, cats and animals, they kind of fill that void on some level.
Yeah.
But you rely on them for them to comfort you on some level because they're alive and they can headbutt you and they can purr and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we lose sight of putting that power in something that's inanimate, you know?
Which is why it's so sad that Bing Bong disappears.
It's kind of even more amazing when I say that, to have the straight up imaginary friend where it's just completely invisible. You know, there's nothing real about it at all except the imagination. You know, I guess with the toy you at least have the representation. But yeah, no, I feel that. And there's I wish they could have played that up a little bit more in the kid, you know, from a point of like growing up in quotes. Because it had no influence on her, right? I don't think there was anything consequential about it.
Yeah, it would have been disturbing or eerie if we would have seen whatever she was doing when that happened, when Bing Bong disappeared.
How sick would it have been to have these dueling stories?
That would have been awesome.
We had Bing Bong messing around with joy or sadness or whatever the difference would have been in this other story, and then I'm just gonna call her Reagan. I want to call her Reagan. The little kid. That sounds right, doesn't it? Riley. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. I was close. I was with the R.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome to have. It's just the potential there. What other Pixar movie, you know, demands this, or, you know, has this kind of potential to have dueling stories, you know? One story happening in quotes real life, and then the other one's like this kind of weird internal representation of what's happening in the real world.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's some repetition there, but there's nothing wrong with repetition in cinema, you know? That's what it's all cinema is repeating shit.
Yep.
And it just would have been sick to see Bing Bong die in a way that we could have seen through Riley's eyes.
Yeah, maybe something super disturbing happened in her life that makes you lose a little bit of your innocence.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she saw someone die that was close to her. That always gets you. Maybe someone was sick around her. Maybe it's something even more childish, like, you know, finding a boyfriend or a first love kind of deal. And that kind of makes you lose a little bit of your innocence in some way. Or, you know, losing your best friend.
Or being made fun of for playing with toys or having an imaginary friend. It shatters it within you. And then, because it would have been kind of cool because I know they're about to come out the Inside Out too. It would have been kind of cool if this was kind of a part 1, part 2 thing where it ends with Riley being a sad, depressed young teenager. And that's how it ends. And then the part 2 is going to revolve around her entering college, and it's going to be really tough and sad at the very beginning. And then as like maybe the years go by in the movie, I assume that's going to kind of be a little bigger chunk of time in the second one. We start to see Riley, you know, rise up to the occasion, right? And be just really powerful.
Yeah.
And, you know, in her own way. And kind of have this, you know, because I don't know if maybe in the beginning of Inside Out, she's kind of happy. They're told that they're going to move. She's sad, and she's dealing with that sad, and things just don't get better. That would have been cool. Just that downward sweep. And then on the second movie, we get up.
Well, I guess she does run away in the movie.
She does.
Now that I'm thinking about it, she runs away because she's so sad living in this new town, and she left her hockey team. So, okay. I don't know. That might have been around the time Bing Bong disappeared.
Yeah, it might have been. That's a good point.
But I do like the idea of the core memories in this movie. I think that's a cool concept that you don't think about. You have these memories, you know, in your life. Me being in my 20s, I have core memories from my childhood, and you don't think about why those stuck with you. There's a reason those stuck with you.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it.
Yeah. It makes me, one thing I do like about this movie a lot is when they talk about a core memory, they will, I think the emotions were talking about this, or was it the parents? It may have been both. Have this, that would make sense. That seems kind of obvious to have this dualistic kind of thing. But they would talk about an experience and then be like, oh, this was also part of the experience. You know, you were there the whole time. You know, Lion King 1.5 style. I think that happened within the emotions where they were talking about Riley was so happy at this moment, but she was also sad just 5 minutes before, and then this happened, and then she became happy, and that's why it became a core memory, that sequence of events. I think that happened a few times.
Yeah.
And that's, see, that kind of shit just begs to have the dualistic story. Like, but, and I know they kind of do, they just tease it, just like every fucking thing else. They just tease it right in front of you. And we end up just having this epic adventure with joy and sadness, trying to save her ass, and Bing Bong dying. And
which I do like how sadness is so depressed. I like how they did that. It reminds me of that depressed star thing in Mario. Yeah. Not quite the same. One's just creepier and sadness is just depressed. But I like that. Yeah. I don't think they did that with the other ones. Like they made her like move slow and then just be a bummer, and everything she touched would just turn sad. Yeah. They're like, stop touching stuff, sadness. Like I love that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She definitely had the most amount of character. Yeah, ultimately, because like anger wasn't always anger, disgust wasn't always disgust. I think there was also like anxiety or whatever.
It was
fear,
disgust, fear. It was fear. I think I said guilt. It's fear. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's a miss on me.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity, just like so much Pixar.
Yeah.
One of the worser offenders, too, like Turning Red, is Inside Out, I think. There was a big potential here. This is often a lot of people's favorites. We're entering territory where this is one of the ones that people look at.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it misses too much for it to be a favorite.
Yeah, I do too. I guess Up is also maybe the first we covered that is in that echelon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Up is anyone's favorite. But I mean, of course it is, but
I know people that have claimed this movie to be their favorite.
I would say the ones, Inside Out, Up, WALL-E, Cars 1, Monsters Inc., Toy Story 1, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles. I feel like those are the ones that people will cling to for the most part.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course, you can like, your favorite. I'm probably going to be, will I be surprised by your favorite?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think you will be.
Yeah. So, all right, what number was that?
That was number 14.
Okay. So, my number, what did I say? Finding Dory?
Finding Dory, which is my 13. My number 13 is Finding Dory.
Okay. And my number 13 is Up.
Okay. We're not too far.
Yeah. And like I said, Up could probably go down
a little higher. That's a little high.
Up's a little high. Finding, like, it's hard to do. This kind of stuff's hard to do. Because, like, Brave is much more serviceable. Finding Dory is a much more serviceable movie. They're fucking coherent. They are self-contained. They tell a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even Inside Out is better, maybe, than Up. It's hard to say. But, yeah Up, I put Up as... That midsection is tough.
Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely agree. I put all the Toy Stories right next to each other, so...
Yeah, that's funny.
I like Finding Dory a lot. I think it's a very colorful movie, especially with the aquarium scenes. I love those scenes.
The octopus.
The octopus is great.
He's great.
I like that they develop Dory a bit more. We know a little bit more about her. And they, Dory has a disability. She has short-term memory loss. And they didn't completely, beat us upside the head to accept people with disabilities. It was a...
No, they didn't.
Yeah, it was a movie about a disabled fish.
Yeah.
And just her quest in her life. Not acceptance of disabled people. We all gotta love each other, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, she was just trying to find her family. And she...
Yeah, when it comes to accepting... When it comes to tolerance or whatever, however you want to kind of phrase it, that stuff, when you do it in a classy way, such as this, not that the message really is accept disabled people, like short-term memory loss people, but it kind of goes without saying that these are people too. They experience life in such a way that's maybe a little bit different than you, and it challenges them and the people around them, but it's easy to love them,
Yeah.
if you just try.
Yeah. I like the family message, anybody can be your family.
Mm-hmm, yeah, that's probably one of the, and we get that in the first movie, of course.
Yes.
But they do, I guess, if you want to talk about beating across the head, they do kind of take that in that direction, that's a fine direction to take that in this kind of movie, because you can't overstate the importance of family.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. I like that a lot. One thing I don't like about this movie, compared to the first one, is how much time we spend with Dory. Because, with Nemo, we went back and forth between Marlin and Nemo. I liked that a lot, the back and forth. In this, we spend most of our time with Dory, which is fine, but it just, I guess I like the dueling stories almost on some level.
And we get a little bit of that, but you're right, we don't have enough.
Because Marlin kind of just shows up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we do get...
And I hate the end. I hate the end.
Which part?
When they're in the cars, the driving.
Okay.
I mean, it's cute. It's fun, but it's know your fucking place. You're fish. All right, it's the same fucking thing. You're fish.
Liked it.
It's cute.
I liked it a lot.
What stops them? The penguins or the otters? What is it?
Oh yeah,
it's cute.
It was the otters.
Yeah,
I liked it. It could have been in the realm of Up with the cringe dogs, talking dogs. Something as crazy as
nothing, not
fish.
Even close though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something crazy as a fish driving a truck to save the fish that are in the back of the truck, and an octopus driving. But I liked it a lot. I think they did it well, and they made it fun. They made it fun and cute.
They did it as well as they possibly could have. I liked it. It's not terrible filmmaking. It's not terrible in any way whatsoever. It's just a little too stupid for me.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Up thing. The Up thing is completely inexcusable, and who fucking made this decision? That was a problem. This was not a problem, and not to mention it was only like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I like that they also gave us a little bit on Dory and
her family. Her what?
How she knew how to speak whale because of her friend that was a whale.
Oh yeah.
And then how she knew how to read in the first Nemo movie.
Yeah.
Because she lived in an aquarium and could read signs, and so
that was cool.
I like that. I like that they did that.
Yeah. I have to agree. That's pretty slick. They handled that, and she wasn't this. I don't know. That reminds me of the Han Solo thing where they just introduce all this, because Han Solo is not really a character. He is just his ship. He is just the Chewie dude. He is just the gun, whatever, Mm-hmm. And then they introduce one bit at a time in the movie, and the movie's actually decent. Mm-hmm. It's definitely better than the most recent Star Wars movies, but it kind of, you saying that reminds me of that a little bit. But I like it more here. Finding Dory is much better than the Solo movie. Finding Dory is better than Star Wars. Just saying.
I agree with that.
So what number are we on?
We're on number 12.
And what did I say? What did I say? Up. Is that what I said?
Is that what you said? Yeah, I think so.
So my number 12 is Ratatouille.
That's my number 12.
How about that?
Wow, okay.
How about that? Ratatouille is an interesting movie. It's probably the most boring Pixar movie.
No, it's not boring.
It's cute, but it serves. It's serviceable. nice and self-contained. It's fun. It reminds me of Flushed Away.
No! Get out of here.
What do you like about it? What do you like about it?
I like that they took a rat and made him lovable. You know, Remy is a rat that wants to cook. You know, it's a movie about you can do anything. And I like that. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that.
You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Yes. Okay. Good.
An important distinction.
Good distinction there. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And don't be afraid to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they deliver that message. I like the animation a lot of this film.
Yeah, I think this is one of those milestone movies where we start to see, and they know that with the food and the number of rats and the fur.
Yeah,
and the kitchen scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this when we were watching it.
Yes.
You could just tell that they, in the guy's room, you could tell that they were on. You know, they knew this is gonna be a big deal, and it is.
Yeah, the movie was a little bit on the sillier side for me to place it really in my top 10.
Yeah,
but it's close. It's close to my top 10. But
I mean, it's close to mine too, number 12.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we are both at number 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. You know, I don't know. He's an underdog, kinda.
Yeah, my main problem with this movie is probably the silliness of it. I don't like that the main guy, not Rat, the orange-haired guy, Linguini is just a fucking idiot.
Stupid.
Like, he's just such an idiot. He is literally this catalyst, this ship for Remy to take control of. And I don't like that. I wish there was a little bit, and then aren't there moments where Linguini is like, oh, I can do this, and Remy teaches him to at moments, right?
Yeah, I think the main part with him is that he doesn't know where he fits in this world. You know, his dad never wanted him. His mom passed away. So he's trying to figure himself out. And he's kind of a loser. The only job he could get was this job because apparently his dad was Gustav. Is that his name?
I don't know.
Gustav?
Yeah, he's family connections, nepotism.
They kind of made him a little bit too much of a loser. They could have given him a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I guess that is kind of what they were trying to say. And they did give him a girl.
Which was a little silly.
Which was a little silly.
Very forced.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like that, I guess.
But I mean, she got in the way. That was her reasoning for the reason for them, getting together is so Remy could have a reason to be discovered, a reason to have to.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, I like I said, probably the most boring Pixar movie, but it does a good job at what it's doing, minus a little bit of silliness. I wish we could have toned that back a little bit. I wish we could have flared up the spiciness between why that lady liked the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, because she obviously just liked dumbasses, and I wish we could have got a couple better scenarios of that. That's fine. Kim Kardashian likes Pete Davidson. That's fine.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore, but she did, and that's fine. I just wish we could have got a little bit more juice out of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Was
maybe a little bit more juice with Remy and his dad. There was something there. His dad didn't want him to make food. Didn't want him to socialize with humans. He's a rat. They eat trash. Get over yourself, son.
Yeah, he's kind of like me, know your place.
Know your place. You're a fucking rat.
That's funny. All right, man. That was number 12. So my number 11 is, I could see this being your number 11, WALL-E.
No. WALL-E's a lot higher.
Yeah, I know you liked it a lot more. Your
yes.
second time through or whatever. Yeah, Wall-E falls into the up ring of setting up some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen in any fucking place on the planet. Man, those first 20 minutes of Wall-E are so good. But the moment those humans are introduced, this movie falls apart for me. Becomes so stupid. What you got?
Yes, I agree that the first 15, 20 minutes, however long that was, amazing. Awesome. But the humans, I like the humans.
You
They
like
were
the humans?
fat. They were chubby. They were our future.
I like the premise.
If we don't do anything about anything, that's us. I like how, silly they made them and potentially real they made them.
Sure.
The technology. I like the robots that were malfunctioned and were just kind of had so much personality, the other robots that were locked up, because you're meant to be a robot that cleans up spills, but you're not. You're just banging your head across the spaceship,
And nobody's capable of fixing them.
and yes,
Which is awesome. It is awesome.
I think there's more. I think there's more than just the first 15 minutes. Like up, there's nothing.
Well, don't get me wrong. I do like Wall-E. Wall-E is a much better movie than Up. That's why they're not side by side. That's what I'm saying.
True.
Okay. I just wish we could have gotten the proper love story between Wall-E and Eve.
Yeah.
Evie or Eva, whatever.
Eve.
I wish we could have gotten. I almost wish the camera was literally only focused on them, and all the human shenanigans was out of focus in the background, and there was like shit going on and stuff, and we were just focusing on this simple robotic love story between the two.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of like what I wish there was just a little bit of a different angle, different use of camera, kind of like the Lion King remake. I wish we would have just had a different angle on the actual story. Almost everything could stay the same. I wish the people were just out of focus, and then Wall-E and Eve were in the foreground, basically.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
There's a lot I do like here. I do like that the people were fat. The captain's kind of fucking stupid, but that's fine. That makes sense. One of the things I do not like about this movie is the villain, I guess, basically, being the robot and the ship trying to stop the plant from being discovered. Because it would have been enough. It would have been totally enough and really fun for these fat, illiterate motherfuckers to have to deal with this problem. Because it's already a problem for them.
Yeah.
But they don't need the evil robot. They don't need the 2001 Space Odyssey robot. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with the robot.
And that's a big hang up for me. That's why it's still relatively high on my list.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher, quite a bit higher.
I actually might bring it up one or two spaces but if I had to reorganize this. But that potential is just so, it just digs at me, man.
Yeah.
It makes me, I don't know what it is about the potential that makes me dislike something that's really fine. You know what I mean? It makes me dislike it. I don't know what that is.
I think Wall-E has a great message. I think the love story between Wall-E and Eve is beautiful. I like the animation.
Their voice acting too.
Yes.
It's kind of funny. Voice acting, not a lot. Pixar has a lot of pretty great voice acting just in general, but I don't know what it is about how minimal Wall-E and Eve's voice acting is. But it is so memorable. It's so good.
Everyone can, think how Wall-E says Eve's name and how Eve says Wall-E's name. You picture it. And that's really all they say.
Yeah.
And I like Wall-E's little home. How much detail went into that.
His cockroach friend.
Yeah. The old movies he likes to watch.
Yeah, I love that.
The cockroach friend. I mean, I love a good sidekick, side character, whatever you want to call them. You know, probably Olaf is up there on my top favorite sidekick character.
Yeah.
Out of any animated film.
That's fair.
But I love the cockroach. I love how the cockroach survived everything.
And he doesn't say a damn thing.
He doesn't say a
In
damn
fact,
thing.
at the time, Wally doesn't say a damn thing. You know?
Yeah.
It's quiet. And it's one reason you have no choice but to focus on what's happening, what's literally happening, because there's just no distractions, you know? It's
Yeah, I was going to say, I like the love story, how it's not ooey gooey love, not romantic love. It's just care and appreciating. And, you know, obviously Eve is the new model. She's, you know, awesome. And Wally appreciates that and he respects that. And at no point does he get like bummed out or jealous. He's like, oh my God, this girl. So I like that. I like the humans. I like what they did with them. I love that they made them all fat and chubby.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that they're all focused like on their screens and stuff. It's awesome.
And like just in line in their chairs. No one's walking anywhere. No one's doing anything. And I like in the captain's chambers that there's the pictures of like the first captain and
they got fatter and fatter.
Got fatter and fatter.
Yeah.
And that's just awesome.
Yeah.
I do agree with the robot villain, whatever he was. It didn't make sense to me why he was evil. Like why were you trying to stop this, dude? Like what's your problem?
Yeah.
So I wish that would have been maybe developed a bit more. But my number 11 was Toy Story.
Toy Story.
That's my number 11.
Did I say Wally's my 11?
Yes.
Okay.
Are yours not numbered?
Well, I brought down Toy Story 2.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I've just fucked it all up again. So Toy Story 1 is your number 11.
Yes.
Do you want to retract that and bring it up based off of what we've said before? No?
I don't think so. Some of these mids are a little bit hard to place. Like your low mids and your high mids are a little bit hard to place.
I get it.
So I'm going to keep Toy Story at 11 for now. It's a classic. It's the first one. The characters are lovable. Any like Rex, Slinky, Potato Head. Woody's okay. I've always thought Woody was just okay. Why is he the main guy? I don't know.
Because he's okay.
But Sid, the evil kid, that's awesome.
That's good stuff.
That's good stuff. And then Buzz having an existential crisis. Awesome.
His whole reality is being shattered.
Yes.
And
it's so disturbing.
Yes. And that's what the movie's about, which is just fucking awesome. And him, and, you know, at the same time, Woody having to deal with being, you know, sharing Andy on the favorite level. So that's, you know, that's interesting. But the deconstruction of Buzz's superiority in the world is so fucking dope, man. And if this movie was normal feature-length film, you know, time, which it's the shortest Pixar movie by a good bit. It's actually just a really short feature-length film. It's almost borderline a short film. If it was any longer, it may have ran that risk of really not working that well. But man, this movie is... I can't blame anyone who thinks Toy Story 1 is the best Pixar movie. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. And now thinking about it...
That's right.
I might move it up higher.
That's right. Let's go.
Because the beginning is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, Woody trying to fucking kill Buzz. He's trying to get rid of this motherfucker. He is jealous. Awesome. Sid being creepy with his toys and putting them all together. Awesome. Pizza Planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my God. That's like the coolest thing. You know, I'm not going to say coolest thing ever, but it's cool. It's cool as fuck. Like them
Yes.
sneaking from the car to the stroller to the pizza truck. You know, that's better than them sneaking from a plane in Toy Story 2. Like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever.
Absolutely. There's like a sense of don't get caught, you know,
Yes.
there, and that doesn't exist in Toy Story 2. That does not exist in Toy Story 3. That doesn't that and that hell for sure doesn't exist in Toy Story 4. You know, there's like nothing at risk in Toy Story 4 except your servitude with the antique people.
Yeah, I like the end where they're trying to get onto the moving van. And then Woody makes it on there, and the toys are like, oh, "It's Woody! He killed Buzz! Let's get rid of him!" And they knock him over. It's like, no, he's good now. He's trying to help you. Like, talk about anxiety inducing. That whole last scene, and then the very, very end, it's Woody or not Woody, Andy opening up new presents.
Yeah,
and one of them's a Mrs. Potato Head, and it's like, whoa, okay,
that's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, this movie. Oh, you know what?
Unexpected, just genius storytelling.
Didn't
with that
think
Mrs.
about it
Potato
enough.
Head. And two of my favorite scenes are when Buzz, he's in Sid's house and he's trying to fly through the window, and it plays that Randy Newman song or whatever. And he jumps and then he fucking falls and his arm falls off, and it's just that is that the moment Buzz he's literally broken. He's literally broken. His spirit's broken. His identity is broken. His arm is off.
Broken.
His body, it doesn't get any better than that.
And he's just laying there.
He's just laying there. He's just fucking laying there. And the camera zooms out from with him looking up, and he's fucking dead on the inside and out.
Yeah, you're right.
And then I think a couple scenes after, my next favorite scene is they're the same on the they're both my favorites. I just could never pick. Is when Sid's little sister, I think, is having tea time with Buzz, and she's exactly Mrs. Nesbitt.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking there, and he's being a new identity is being shoved on him, and he's just taking it. And then Woody's got to save him, right? But
yeah,
and it's so good. And there's just, I'm gonna say Toy Story 1 is not my number one, but I'm gonna have to switch some of these around. Yeah, Toy Story 1, phenomenal film. I hope one day, same thing with Bug's Life, we see proper remakes, just made in the vein of modern Pixar animation. Exactly the same film, made in modern Pixar assets.
That could be cool.
Yeah, nothing else changed. Literally, don't fucking change a goddamn thing. Maybe you can add texture to the rooms, new toys that do not move, or maybe they move or in the background. They don't say anything. No new dialogue. Nothing changes. And in A Bug's Life, more foliage, more maybe bugs out and about and stuff flying around or whatever. More texture and everything. That's it. We're done. And I think that's on the horizon. I think that's definitely gonna happen here in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that could definitely be very, very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't think about Toy Story all the way through. I don't know where I would move it to, but it'd go higher.
Yeah, good to hear. I'm glad we talked that through.
I underestimated these Toy Stories, man.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, I can't blame you feel this way. Toy Story feels like it's probably a little overrated, but then when you starting to get to the nitty-gritty of it, Toy Story 1 and 3 hold up on a weird fucking level.
Yeah.
Toy Story 2, not so much. I like Toy Story 2 a lot from the angle of the scenes, obviously, like we were said. And then I really like Woody facing the role of a toy. I like that a lot, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
There's no movie there. Not really. It's just a bunch of scenes, and I like Woody's arc happening, and I like that Jesse's brought into the fold, and then the horse, what's his name? Bullseye. But it just doesn't, there's just nothing bringing everything together. because Buzz is going on the adventure with the other guys, and they go through some really cool bits, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that I helped defend Toy Story up there. So we are at number 10.
Yes, number 10.
Okay, maybe you can help me with this one. A Bug's Life.
No.
A Bug's Life is number 10 for me.
We're done. Thank you for listening to the Filmsteins. See you next time.
See you next time. Over and out.
God damn. No.
Why do you like the Bug's Life so much? I know it's high on your list.
Oh, I love
it's probably
the
number
Bug's
1.
Life. I love everything about it. I think it's so clever. I like all the characters. Every ant that we see is developed. The queen, the princesses, Princess Ada, Dot, even the queen's like little servant people, they have their own personalities. We have Flick, who's a fucking dumbass and wrecks everything, and they want to get rid of him. And he's just so optimistic and so like happy. He's like, I got you guys. Thank you for sending me out. I'm gonna find some warriors to get rid of these grasshoppers. Finds fucking circus bugs and
who are willing to do anything for money.
Yes. And their whole introduction is awesome. The flies, even the fucking flies are great.
Yep. That's probably my favorite scene. With the flies and in that bar area with the mosquitoes.
Yeah, I was
just
like about to say, like, who wants the poo-poo platter? And it's like a bunch of flies. And then you have a slug drinking something or eating something. He's like, I said no salt. And he's like dissolving. How clever is that?
It's good stuff.
And then you have the ladybug that's not a lady. You have the fat caterpillar who just wants to be fucking beautiful. I mean, it's so character developed. The flea, I forgot his name. He's just money hungry. He wants his circus bugs, but he doesn't treat them well.
He's a blood-sucking, corporate guy,
Yes. And, the grasshoppers, you have, Hop, our main grasshopper, who's kind of like Negan. He just, me. Whatever you fucking ants are gonna give me, you're gonna give me. And all the ants just collect shit for Hop. He's got his brother who's a dumbass. And I don't know. There's the crazy grasshopper who's like psycho. He's psychotic. I just think it's very well done. And the bird scene, come on, that's awesome. The bird scene is awesome. They spend their little tiny ants making a bird to scare away a grasshopper. That's fucking awesome. And then the end, everything doesn't go well. The circus bugs, they're lame as fuck. Everyone finds out they're not warriors and everyone's disappointed. But hey, here's a plan. Here's Flick being optimistic. The whole everything. The ending that one ant can be enough and help the other ants stand up. And they stand up for themselves and they get rid of Hopper. Beautiful. And I like the animation, even though it feels kind of oldish, I guess. But the animation's cool. I think it's still cool. I think I just love the characters.
Yeah, I can see that.
They didn't make one character lame.
That's true.
You got a stick. You made a stick bug. You made him cool. You made all these characters.
The roly-polies.
Oh my god, yes. What the fuck were they speaking? German?
I don't know.
It's awesome.
They were good. They're cool. You're right. I totally agree with everything.
Thank you.
And I also like the angle of an ant going on his own when ants are the most hive-minded organism on the planet.
Yeah. That's a good point. And when he goes into the city, you get all these cool things. You get the homeless grasshopper who's
a cricket. He's a cricket.
He's a cricket. Yeah. Okay. And his wings like torn off or something. And oh my god, it's so sad.
He's playing himself.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound right.
It's sad.
Yeah, that's
because
awesome.
it probably got, picked by a human or something.
Yeah. Isn't there a bit where like some flying bug is flying towards a bug zapper?
Yes.
And he's like, "Don't look at the light," or whatever.
Yeah. Clever.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like it.
And I think that's where we get a cameo of the trailer. Is it a cameo, Easter egg, whatever, of the trailer from Monsters Inc. and the Pizza Planet van, truck, whatever.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't know about the Monsters Inc. thing until years later.
Until later. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably bring this up a little more after that conversation.
Thank you.
Just to give you a little something.
You're very sweet.
Because I'd have to put it above the next one, I think. I forget Bug's Life is pretty good.
It's good.
It's not.
good.
It's definitely not the best Pixar movie. It's definitely not better than Toy Story 1. But it it's better than my next listing.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that.
My number 10.
What's your number 10?
Is Cars 3.
Oh my god. That's funny. 10?
Yes. Are we on 10?
Yeah, okay. I fucked all this up.
What happened?
Reorganizing stuff. Yeah, number 10 is that's where I had Toy Story 2 at first.
Okay.
And I dropped that down like 10 points. Because I forgot how bad it was. How incoherent everything really is in Toy Story 2. There's so many good parts in Toy Story 2. It's just it's not one of these movies that had potential. It's one of these movies where they wanted to flex their animation skills.
And they did.
And they most
really
certainly did.
Yep.
But yeah, whoa. So your number 10 is Cars 3.
Mm-hmm.
My number 9 is Cars 3, but I wrote Cars 2 twice. I meant Cars 3. Cars 3, I will say, underrated Pixar movie. It's the proper sequel to Cars 1, of course. And I can't remember a lot about it, but it does hit on a lot of really excellent notes. Because we see Lightning kind of begrudgingly fall into a mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to, obviously. He thinks he's the best. He's going to prove he's the best, but he slowly but surely is kind of pushed into it by the nature of how the industry is changing. And I like that. I like that he's not really making the decision. It's just the industry making it happen, because that's how shit happens, you know?
Yeah. I like that. It almost feels like these other movies like Monsters Inc. or Monsters University and Toy Story 3 with the, making it years later. Especially watching it recently, I did not watch it when it came out because Cars 2 was just disgusting.
Cars 2 is bad.
So I didn't give it a fair view. I watched it when we watched it a couple months ago, and at the time I watched it, I could kind of relate to McQueen because he's a hot shot in the first Cars, and now he's getting old, and I'm getting old, and I'm not super old, I'm in my 20s, but it's like I don't know, it just hit me somewhere that I have to now think about mentoring younger people. All these people that in my life that are going to college or just graduated high school. Now I have to be some sort of mentor for them entering adulthood. And it's kind of, I don't want to say sad, but I can relate to McQueen. I'm like, man, I don't want to be the mentor. I still want to be the hot shot.
The world,
especially in your 20s, man. I think that's like late 20s, you're almost 30, and you have to now give it to the next generation. Of course, you grow with them.
Well, some of it on the adolescents. A lot of people think their prime is their 30s, but yeah, you're becoming
your 20s. I feel like are your hot shot years of showing off, of being that first, of being like you know? Like, you got football players, you got soccer players. In your 30s, you're too old for that.
I see. Okay.
You know, I don't want to. I think jobs and careers are a little bit different in that field.
Of course.
You just get better. But, you know, something like he's a car. He's an, you know.
Yeah, he's a car. It's a sport.
It's a sport.
Yeah, that's an important point of the movie.
Yeah. So that's a field where you are like that. Not that I can relate to that whatsoever.
Yeah, but you can on the adolescent level.
Yeah.
You're becoming more and more and more and more every single day.
Yeah.
The closer you get to your grave, you're becoming more detached from the adolescence of
and, you know,
the adolescent world.
Sometimes I wake up and my back hurts. It's like, shit.
That's funny.
My back hurts.
And you're like, God damn, I thought I felt 16.
Yeah.
But I think I might feel 30.
So I like that it's relatable on that kind of point.
Yeah. I like that. One of my favorite things about this movie, and like what you're saying, is that it's just this force of nature that is pushing you into this different role.
Mm-hmm.
You have no choice.
You have no choice.
And you can be a piece of shit. You're not being a piece of shit, but you can be kind of neglectful and not take accountability, but you have some kind of power in that you have some kind of mentorship or professorship or leadership role that you do have over younger people.
Yeah.
By nature of being young and old, or young and older. Younger and older.
Yeah. I've gone through.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. That's one thing I enjoy a lot about this movie. I've gone through college. I can help people with that. I've gone through getting my first job, even now my second, you know, big girl job, whatever you want to say. I don't know why people say that, but
because it's a professional job.
Yeah.
You know, there's not very many of those out in the world, professional jobs, as people who are leaving college are realizing. There's not a lot of professional jobs. Most jobs are retail or manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
And
now I have some experience with that. Now I can teach someone that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, I'm getting old.
No, you're becoming sophisticated.
I want to be a childish teenager,
You
not thinking about my choices.
No, well, that's, you know.
Sleeping in late.
Yeah.
Having my summers.
Those kinds of things.
Those kinds of things.
Those are gone.
Those are completely gone.
But you can still, and you do a good job at this, kind of holding on to that innocence and not naivety in a bad way, but naivety in a good way, of course. And this, and a sense of play. That's so important. And I think the millennials and the younger are
holding on to that.
Well, the millennials, I think, are holding on to it. I think the younger generation may be growing up way too fast. They're already acting like boomers out there. But I think the late millennials especially are holding on to that sense of play a little bit more, which is mega important, I think.
Yeah, that's going to help us live longer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like some of these new characters being introduced, like the girl. I don't remember her name.
The racer?
Yeah.
I like that she's a girl, too, and that she's kind of this secretary-esque character, and she's, like, obviously, like, good-looking, as, like, you know, she's, like, that kind of car and stuff, and she's, like, real submissive and doesn't understand her abilities and stuff. I like that.
Yeah, very good character.
Yeah, and she kind of starts to realize it, and she starts to realize she's better than McQueen. She's like, that's weird. Kind of like
when you realize that you can do something better than your parents.
Yeah. I was thinking of another character from the movies. We've talked about so many, I can't remember which one I was thinking about. But yeah, that's a really good angle, as you realize you can run faster than your parents. You realize you can do math better than your parents. You read better books than your parents.
Making more money than
you
my
read
parents.
Yeah, you make more money than your parents.
Oh, shit, what? This isn't how it's supposed to happen, but...
And there's kind of an innocence in that character, that car character.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that a lot. And I like that she has something to fucking learn from McQueen too.
Yes.
She's not this so-called Mary Sue or this character who's just great at everything all of a sudden. Once it's realized, once it's unlocked in her brain.
Yeah.
She still has something to learn from her elders in quotes. McQueen is not very much
30s.
yeah. And she's probably in her 20s. So,
Yeah.
but
She's probably like 20.
yeah, so it's really cool on that level because yes, I got news for everyone out there, including myself, that there's something to learn from everyone, but especially older people.
Yeah.
One reason I like older people, and because they're full of nonsense and wisdom.
Yep.
And the nonsense is good too. It's just as good as the wisdom, I will say.
I like that.
Make that a t-shirt.
Make that a t-shirt. The nonsense is
As good as wisdom.
as good as wisdom.
So what number are we on?
9.
9 was Cars 2 for me. So what's your 9?
No, Cars 3.
Cars 3 for me.
Yeah, Cars
Woo!
2.
Yeah. Cars 2 is dog shit. You know that?
I think dog shit's better.
Yeah, I'd rather watch dog shit than Cars 2. Cars 2 is unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what to say about it, to be honest. It's just, it's one thing to shit on Pixar about X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever it is. But Cars 2 is on a whole another level of trash. Cars 2 is much worse. And I know you put Lightyear at the bottom there.
Yeah. Partially because I didn't finish it. And
Yeah, and it's hard. Yeah, I get that. But Cars 2 is... I'm baffled at how bad it is and what they thought where they thought they should take it, with Mater being a fucking spy and working with these.
Don't even remind me. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm thinking how cringe.
Like
it
sounds like a fever dream. All right, and that shouldn't be the case because the fever dream should be Cars talking. All right, not Mater being a fucking spy. You know, so like we're meta levels deep of fever dreams, and it's unacceptable. So your number 9 is
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo
Is my number 9.
Okay.
I like the plot of, Marlin lost his wife, only had one kid left with a disability. These movies play a lot with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And not shoving them down your throat. I like that he's just an overprotective parent trying to find his kid that gets lost because he's, frustrated that his dad's like overbearing. He's like, Dad, I can do it. I like the perspective change, the dual thing that you mentioned. I like that a lot. I don't think there's one I like more than the other. I like the sharks. The shark scenes are probably my favorite.
Yeah, definitely some of the most iconic stuff ever in animation.
I think maybe I watched this movie too much.
I feel you.
So maybe that's why it's a bit lower.
I feel you.
Than if I really thought about it. I don't know. But it definitely overwatched. This is a movie, like Shrek, that I can probably quote from beginning to end.
You and everyone born between 1994 and 1998, maybe 7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah, I can quote this verbatim, and it's good. It's a good film. The sharks, the little pigeons, dude. They're like mine. The fish in the tank. Talk about a bunch of different types of characters. The dentist. Dory and Marlin's relationship, the turtles. Good. It's all good, but I just think it was a little bit too shoved. We watched it a lot in school. Whenever teachers didn't know what to teach that day, they were going to play a movie, and it was always Finding Nemo.
Yeah, yep.
It was just a lot.
One of my favorite things about this movie is Finding Nemo is it harkens back to a time of the 80s fantasies and how these characters go on epic quests. And so we have our different set pieces, very video game style, where we have the setup, and then we go to the jellyfish, we deal with the anglerfish, we deal with the sharks, we deal with the turtles. We're on these different little sections of our quest, and that speaks to me on a really satisfactory level. I don't have a lot to say about Finding Nemo. I think it's just a timeless movie of and over shown in schools, yes. Or at least at the time. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I don't have a lot
I was
to
hesitant
say.
to put it lower because of that, but it speaks. It's it's kind of boring to watch it now because I've seen it so many times, but it's so well paced and well made that I have no choice but to put it
Higher.
really high.
Yeah.
One thing I like about Finding Nemo is that it's a timeless story about a father having to come to terms with letting go when he's dealing with this trauma of being forced to let go through a death.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And it makes him that trauma makes him stubborn. It completely alters. It's a paradigm shift in his life. It makes him stubborn to reconnect. It not only, makes him overbearing and protective, right? But I think it's really cool that it makes him have a hard time reconnecting. And he lashes out and he's like kind of neurotic about it. He doesn't know how to handle these emotions while facing his son being fucking taken. His son was doing something stupid. I guess he kind of was asking for it on some level because they knew. They tried to tell him, but this is it's the great push and pull between a father and son, right? Is the son, the son's he's gonna act out, right? Your kid's gonna act out in some way, and there's major consequences to that. And the son, Nemo, he realizes that, and he lucks out, living in the dentist shop and having friends that also like him and want to help him get out and want to get out themselves, and it works out that way. But there's a lot to take away from Nemo, and it's one of, I think it's arguably probably the best made Pixar movie. And there might be something really deep to that, or just timing. I might be giving the world too much credit, but this draw to want to show it to kids throughout school and high school and stuff, whether they know it or not, maybe there's something primitive there that tells them that this is a necessary watch over and over and over again to kind of beat some of this into people's heads. But just because I don't know, I speak from that. I say that only really because I think it is just the best paced Pixar movie, and pacing is not something movies do well. Movies suffer from pacing more than any other medium, I think, or at least have the opposite problem that video games have, that are things that are paced, way too much time on their hands with the games, and movies kind of tend to rush things. But
yeah, maybe I would put Finding Nemo a little bit higher.
That's fine.
But
what number was that? 8? 9? What number was that for you?
9.
9, okay.
Yeah, I would place Finding Nemo a little bit higher, but maybe not right now.
No, don't worry about it. The conversation's more important. So we're on number 8.
Yes, number 8. My
number 8. I'm curious. I feel like this could be your number 8 too.
Oh.
Monsters Inc.
No.
Monsters Inc. is my number 8.
Not my number 8. My number 8 is Coco.
Yeah, Coco's coming up for me too.
Okay. Yeah, Monsters Inc. is a bit higher for me.
Monsters Inc. is definitely suffered from the being played too much.
Okay. So Finding Nemo.
I think Monsters Inc. is a great movie in the landscape of Pixar movies. And I don't think it's as good as Toy Story 3, obviously, and Toy Story. But it does do that interesting thing like Toy Story does, where it came out, the next Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Monsters University. I guess Monsters University is pretty high on your list, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Monsters University came out so many years after Monsters Inc. I think they even aired it when...
Yeah, during our college orientation.
Yep. Which is, I don't know how cringe that is, or is how fun that is. I don't know how to take that.
I had fun.
You had fun? I remember being cold. That's all I'm going to say.
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about Monsters Inc. I'll think about that. We'll come back to it when we get on yours.
Okay. Coco for me was a movie that I liked the, heritage stuff, the Mexican heritage. This boy is not allowed to play music, over controlling family. I like all that. I think Encanto does something very similar to, where you have this grandma who's not letting you live your life. You have these parents who aren't letting you live your life, and that's very prominent in the Hispanic culture. Your grandmas, your moms controlling you, not being able to say sorry, not giving you your freedom. I think it's something that Coco does, but I don't think it does it as well as Encanto. But I love the play with the dead relatives, the Day of the Dead. I love that they bring them food. You know, that's a big important thing in the Hispanic culture, and I guess the Catholic culture. You bring your relatives dead. You bring your dead relatives food on that day so they can come visit you, so you can spend time with them. And we don't practice it here with my family. You know, I come from a Mexican background, even though I've lived in the US practically my whole life. But my relatives in Mexico do. And my grandma, she puts up a table and she puts her dead relatives there, and everyone brings food, and it's awesome. I wish we did kind of practice that here. And seeing it in a movie like that and being it expressed the way it was, it's like 1 point for the, you know, culture thing. I like that they did that. I like that there's these lost relatives, lost souls, that your families don't, you know, they don't put up the pictures anymore. They don't care about you anymore and what happens to them. And, you know, there's the very sad scene where that old guy he's forgotten.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
It's really sad. And I think this whole movie's pretty sad. But there's some funny bits, like the guy dying because he choked on chorizo, but he was actually poisoned. You know, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more Disney Pixar movies, isn't it?
Yes.
It really does fit the 3D Disney kind of mold a little more, like your Encantos, like your Tangled and your Frozens and your Big Hero 6. Well, maybe not Big Hero 6. That's kind of an outlier too.
It is an outlier.
But with your soundtrack, I don't think another Pixar movie has a soundtrack at all, with the exception of maybe Toy Story 1, but that's for different reasons.
Yeah,
One thing that's really cool about this, and just Mexican culture, and definitely probably not exclusive to Mexican culture, but is definitely mega highlighted here, is the celebration of your dead. Like you were saying, there is, in America, I feel like there's a almost taboo nature to speaking of the dead, and there's not in a million years a celebration of the dead. There's no, you know, never once heard of any American celebrating their dead loved ones. But in Mexico, that's like a huge thing. Mm-hmm. There's a literal day of the dead.
You make it
Pixar
natural.
Made a movie about it.
Yeah, you make it natural. You make it acceptable. You make it beautiful. You make it a day to remember people.
I don't. You would think it makes so much sense to me to. Wouldn't you celebrate the life someone had more so than like a baby shower? You know how baby showers happen. The baby's not even born yet, right? Yeah. But you're celebrating the life of that, sort of. I mean, it's really just for the bride, the pregnant person, right, to get shit and to, that's really the point have cake and whatever. But like, wouldn't you want to celebrate this like precious thing that someone just went through 70, 80, 90 years of all this experience and wisdom that just kind of, well, it wasn't all for nothing, as we kind of see in Coco and everywhere else. When people die, is, you know, stuff is passed on, you know, through memory and, you know, teachings. I don't get how that's not more of a universal concept celebrating your dead. But I'm sure in Mexico you have funerals too. I'm sure they're nothing like they are here, but here they're like completely
somber.
They're so fucked up.
Yeah.
They're so fucked up. Like, there's nothing more backwards than that. There's nothing more backwards than the mourning that happens here in the States. Maybe it happened. I don't know. Is it a European thing? I don't know. But
yeah, I'm not sure, but
I just want to say that's like so fucking cool in Coco. You know, that being demonstrating Coco. That's what Coco's about ultimately. But
yeah, hopefully I know it's not going to dramatically change what we do here in the US, but hopefully it sparks something. Hopefully it makes it to where people do that here, or something like it, something close. You know, we have quite a bit of Mexicans and Hispanics migrating to the US, and a lot of our culture is being implemented here.
yeah.
You know, people love tacos.
And it makes sense because Mexico is not only large and in charge, but they are right next door.
Yeah.
So we should embrace that, like every other country did across all of history. You know, that you embrace your. Well, I guess that's, you know, maybe ignorant to say because of all the, you know, European war that did happen, but I guess at least we're not at war with Mexico.
No, but I love Miguel's struggle with his family, but the love that's there and the respect of the elders. You know, I don't know a lot of people that have a relationship with the older generation.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling a coworker one day that I bought my grandma a wheelchair, and she was like, "Oh my God, like, you know, young people don't take care of their elders anymore." And she was just kind of venting a bit, and you know, she's on the older side, so she's like, "I hope that my children will do that for me." And I'm like, okay, but
yeah, I don't even know why she says anymore. Especially in the last 150 years, Americans have no fucking semblance of taking care of old people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was never part of American culture.
And here, I know my grandma lives in Mexico, but when she comes to visit, I try to do everything for her, and I cherish like every moment I have with her. I love my grandma to death, and it's just so sad to see that people here don't have that extended family love, even not as far as extended. You know, you have people here who don't talk to their siblings, they don't talk to their parents.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a nuclear family in the United States. People can't wait to get out of the house.
Yeah, which is sad. It's so sad. So, you know, hopefully through movies like this, expressing other cultures and kind of teaching that it's okay to not hate your sibling.
Yeah.
It's okay to die.
It's okay to die.
And to honor that and respect that and
to
be happy.
And celebrate that.
And celebrate it.
Celebrate someone's life.
Yeah.
There's no point in mourning someone, like, in the capacity that a lot of Americans do.
Oh my gosh, it's so...
There's no point. What does it serve? You should celebrate and admit the love that you had for the individual and let it, you know, drive whatever celebration.
Yeah.
I don't know why it goes in the reverse. Of course it's sad, but it's almost like how do the good times not immediately, you know, when someone dies, how do the good times not just immediately, you know, flood into your mind and just bring you the tears and happiness, you know? Like, cuz those are the moments, you know, those really radical moments of losing someone you love, right? Your mom dies, and of course that's sad. But I don't know, is it just me where you're gonna remember those really special moments you had with that individual, and those in themselves might make you cry, but that's not really, I wouldn't call that a mourning. I guess a type of mourning. Who's to say who am I to say what's mourning? But what is up with the somberness of it? I don't know.
And my mom's always said this. Always, she says when she dies, she wants us to throw a party.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want a funeral. You guys buy a bunch of food, crank up my favorite songs, and I don't want to see anyone crying.
And then Joker, you sitting around like, what? It's so, someone lives, your mom lives, and she's experiencing life with all these people, your siblings, your dad, her siblings. And it's like, an individual's life is not individual at all. It's a very communal thing. So you come together in a communal way, and you share these stories, and you laugh, and you bitch and complain about what your mom did and stuff, and then you laugh about it because it's, at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, it's not a very big deal. And like, but we'd rather just sit around in rows or at a church and fucking cry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. It's so backwards.
No, I completely agree with you. I would say that I haven't had many people currently in my life, I guess, pass away. I've had relatives in Mexico pass away, but I haven't been there, and I haven't seen them in so many years.
Yeah.
And I've only been to one funeral, and it wasn't even my relative. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that was pretty sad because everyone else was sad.
Yeah.
Everyone's just sitting there crying, and then you go bury them, and then that's it. Ooh.
Next funeral you go to, you should start playing music and play their favorite song, and then I don't know, do something, dance. You gotta find a partner to dance.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
See what happens, and see if everybody jumps in.
That'd be crazy. That'd be awesome.
They're gonna kick you out.
Yeah, they're gonna kick me out. Like, this girl is crazy. The parts I didn't like about Coco were the Frida Kahlo parts, and that was just kind of weird.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was kind of weird. That was almost Frida's the most popular Mexican ever fucking lived, so we got to include her in somehow.
Yeah, it's like, I guess she is on one of the bills. That makes you important, right?
Sure.
Doesn't make you iconic to Mexico.
She is iconic to Mexico, though. Frida.
Yeah, I guess she is.
She's iconic.
Yeah, she is iconic. You're right. But I don't know. Those parts were just weird.
They're still a little silly in this context. What?
All right. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is Cars 1.
Ooh. Here comes the debate. And you're gonna kill me for my number 7. Just gonna say it.
What's your number 7?
Soul.
Soul
is my number 7.
Yeah, you're wrong.
You're wrong. I imagine Soul is a lot higher on your list, and Cars is a lot higher on my list.
Is Cars number 1 for you?
Let's just talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
Number 6.
Coco.
Okay. My number 6 is Monsters University.
That's probably our biggest
difference.
Monsters University. That and Bug's Life, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Monsters University.
I did not know that. I thought Monsters University... Defend it for me. Help me fight, get through this.
I don't think I can do much for you here. But I liked the dumbness, I guess. I liked the scare games. I liked the characters.
They're
cute. I liked that they were lame as fuck, and they still managed to do what they did.
Yeah. I like the scare games because it reminded me of the Goofy movie with Max.
The Extreme Games.
The Extreme Games.
Yes.
It reminded me of that. I did like that.
I like that we got a story on how Sully and Mike met. I like that they didn't like each other at first, but they grew this friendship, I guess.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is the timing that we've talked about so many times. I like that a lot.
It's amazing.
It wasn't
it's
cringe for me. It was excitement. I mean,
no. Who said it was cringe?
You said.
No. Watching it on the football field was cringe.
Okay.
The movie is not cringe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only cringe movie on here
is Cars 2.
There's no cringe on here. There's no cringe. Actually, the Cars 2 is just trash.
Okay, but
all right.
I love the timing. It's going to college is such an exciting time in someone's life, no matter where you're going.
Absolutely.
it's so exciting, and having kind of a childhood movie turned into a movie that's also coming along with me was awesome. Mike and Sully were going to college. I was going to college. So maybe there was a bit of that excitement there tied to that movie. And I like that they played it at our orientation. It felt very like, not patriotic, but very symbolic. Very, yeah. Like almost like this movie was made to celebrate me going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the perfect timing.
Well, I mean, it sort of was. They were definitely cashing in on that.
They were, and they got me.
Yeah, they got millions of people.
I like the message that it was trying to...
Which was?
To not give up, you know, and that it's okay if you kind of suck at something. You know, Mike was not a very scary monster.
Yeah.
He tried his hardest to be a scary monster, and in the end, he still wasn't. He wasn't, oh, Mike is now suddenly a scary monster. No, he was not. So he helped Sully become a scary monster with his smarts. He's a coach. He's a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that. You know, it wasn't like, you can do anything if you put your mind to it, which I like that too, but I like that they
You gotta find your own path.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like that. That's also displayed in the setting of college, because that's the time to navigate around,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those obstacles. Because, you know, how many people change their majors just because the work's hard?
Yep.
You know? Now, there's one thing to say about them. They're probably lazy, because I'm willing to bet that most people can do... I mean, I gotta be careful there, you know. But I want to say most people can do anything in a college setting. Maybe not to the graduate level, but I think anyone can pursue a creative writing degree. I think anyone can pursue a physics degree. I think anyone can pursue a computer science degree. Or can get it, the bachelor's degree, if you put the work in. But a lot of people don't want to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's very obviously the main reason people change majors.
Yeah.
Because I'd be interested in seeing which majors they came in for, and then what they changed to, and I'd be willing to bet they change more than once too. It's on average, you know, kind of like people who get divorced more than once.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that people who change their majors, they change it more than once. But that's a good point. I like that. I didn't think about that. That's a really, really cool point. I just wish it wasn't as silly.
Yeah, it was a little bit silly, but I like the silliness. I like that the, you know, group of lamos, that one of them was an adult going to college.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, that's so funny. And he hooks up with one of the kids' moms. Like, oh, that's awesome.
That is good stuff.
It's good stuff. So I think maybe if this movie wouldn't have come out when it came out, it might be lower on my list. But because that sentiment is tied there and that excitement is tied there, it's a little bit up.
I hear that. Nothing wrong with that. That context is good because it makes your defense more powerful, though.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere for me. I do like that point, though, of Mike having to find his way. That's good stuff. What number are we on?
Number 5. Top 5. Here we go.
Top 5. Well, I've already talked about it. Finding Nemo.
Okay. My number 5 is WALL-E, which I've also briefly talked about.
WALL-E's in your top 5?
WALL-E made my top 5.
Wow, that went from probably bottom half to top.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Nice.
used to be a movie I didn't like. I would kind of associate that movie with the people who like Up in my mind.
Yeah, I can see
So
that. It's kind of got similar setups.
Yeah, so I kind of stayed away from it. Like,
I hear that.
And then I rewatched it and I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, those first few minutes of WALL-E are unbelievably good. I wish, man.
Yeah, really the only bad part about WALL-E for me was the
So
robot.
good.
the villain robot, not the other robots. The other robots were awesome.
Yeah.
The cleaning robots, that little robot, tiny robot that would clean after Wall-E because he's so dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, the villain robot is a killer for me.
Yeah.
Complete killer. It's just I mean, that's what I'm saying is I'm realizing this more and more in the last few weeks is the presence of potential in my mind just shreds a movie in my for me to appreciate it or to get some enjoyment out of it. Shreds it. It's
funny.
not even fair for the
That's
movie.
funny.
That's my bias. Yeah, what number was that?
That
4.
was number 4.
4.
Oh no, that was number 5.
Number
We're
5.
on 4.
So number 4 for me is The Incredibles, the first one.
Okay. My number 4 is Monsters, Inc.
Okay.
Monsters, Inc. is a classic. You have monsters, which I love monsters. Any monsters. I love them. So this made sense that I love this movie.
Yep.
I love that Mike and Sully are best friends already. We start off with them being best friends. Yep. It's not, Buzz and Woody that had to get to know each other and become best friends. And they're just going to work.
The premise.
Yes.
And their job is?
To scare.
The premise, the setup is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. And then their way to work, 10 out, the work, the journey there. Mike's a little over positive, he's a little too positive for me. I don't like, but that's just his character. That's fine. And I like that his true love hates him. The slug girl.
She doesn't hate him.
Well, she didn't hate him. She's just, she's whatever she is. She's just she's over it. She's over
his shit.
Yeah.
After he doesn't take her on her date. He's always late.
And I'm talking to Slug Lady.
Oh,
that's his true love.
That's, oh my God.
I'm not talking about the Medusa lady.
Roz.
Is that the name?
Yeah, just the slug old lady.
That's who I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
That's the true love of Mike. They deserve each other.
No, shut up. Get out of here.
She's so over his shit. Love that.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
She's like that DMV worker that's over everyone's shit. And Mike's not turning in his files on time. Like, she hates him.
Yeah.
It's that coworker that fucking hates you because you don't do shit right.
She reminds me of like that black mama who just like when you're fucking around, she just looks at you. And you're apologizing, she knows it, and it's all happening telepathically, and you don't do it. But Mike still fucks around. It's probably my favorite character. What's her name? Roz?
Roz.
She's probably my favorite character.
That's funny. Funny.
And she's so not she's hardly a character,
Yeah.
She's hardly in it, but she's so perfect.
I think this is also a very well-paced
Absolutely.
movie.
Absolutely.
We get the right kind of villains. We have Randall, who can turn invisible. Randall turning invisible is a cooler superpower than anyone in The Incredibles 2. And, he does it so well. The boss is actually kind of the villain.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And they're taking kids' screams to, I guess, produce energy in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they can use happiness too. They can use laughter. And so now all these monsters are...
It's kind of really interesting that it tiptoes around this conversation about different power sources. Not just oil. We have wind, water, and solar, and what have you, and it's really kind of cool that they take something so fundamental to a child, fear and laughter, and also being afraid of what's under the bed and what's in the closet, and we see that side of it. It's like a Lion King 1.5 of Toy Story or something, except We don't see Andy or whatever. That would have been kind of cool if we saw an Andy cameo.
Yeah.
That'd been sick.
Yeah. And one of my favorite scenes in Monsters Inc. is the doors, when they have all those millions of doors.
Yep.
And they're going through each of them, and they're, trying to get away from each other. He's trying to get Boo.
Just another milestone, isn't it, for the animation?
Yeah,
one of those
exactly.
Flexes. Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 movies throughout the whole catalog that you can just see it.
Yes.
You can see it.
Agreed.
This is one of them.
And I like the 2319. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that might be it.
2319.
WS White Sox.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I like
Genius.
that. And they shave his ass, and
they shave his ass.
Yeah, I like that.
It's good stuff.
It's clever. It's so clever.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with this movie. Why is it not my number 1? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. Monsters Inc. is kind of like Cars 1, where it's just in Finding Nemo. I guess those 3 movies are so. They're probably. I think Finding Nemo is probably the best paced because it's. What am I saying? I don't know why, but Monsters Inc. Cars 1 and Finding Nemo are just in the same pocket in my mind.
Yeah, I can see
I don't
that.
know what it is about those movies. I don't know if it's because we watch them over and over and over again in daycare and school and stuff, but they feel so of the same cut of cloth, they're all just so well paced. I don't know what it is about those movies that they remind me of each other. Maybe, did they come out back to back? I wonder.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with Monster Inc. being someone's favorite. I could see it. I mean, I'm not gonna have a problem with any of these. If Cars 2 is your fucking favorite, good for you. Someone needs to appreciate that movie, I guess.
I guess. I have a problem with it.
Statistically, probably someone's favorite movie.
No.
Out there. Favorite movie probably ever.
If your favorite movie is Cars 2, please contact me.
Kill yourself?
No, contact us.
Contact us.
Yes.
You're right, contact us. Don't kill yourself.
Yeah, don't kill yourself. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought that's where you're going with it.
No.
Yeah, you need to come on here and
explain.
Please explain it and try to get me to knock it, try to at least get it above Lightyear, right?
I guess so.
For me, just come and defend it for me. That'd be cool.
And you said The Incredibles was your number 4?
The Incredibles?
What's your number 4? Grandpa?
The Incredibles is my number 4.
Okay. The Incredibles is my number 3. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Toy Story 3.
Ew. Okay, I'm putting Toy Story 3 higher, but not that much higher.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just I don't think there's probably a Pixar movie that pays off quite as much as Toy Story 3. The Incredibles is awesome.
The Incredibles is awesome.
It's actually one of the more surprising movies it's definitely one of the loved ones, of course. It's probably the highest, I think it's the highest rated movie on Letterboxd.
Okay.
Of the Pixar movies. I may be mistaken. Toy Story 3 actually might be it. Those are favorites on Letterboxd. Not because of me. You don't want to see my scores for any of this.
Oh my gosh.
It's all fucked up. The Incredibles it's the only movie on here that makes me say it has no business being this good. It's well paced too. I mean, all these top movies are well paced. Really, it's hard to not say that, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to rate the top ones because they're just good.
They're good, yeah, and none of them are. There's just not a Pixar movie that stands out above the rest. That's what I was saying. There's your A tier, there's your C tier, and then there's your F tier. There's no B and D tier.
Yeah, and any of these top 5 for me could kind of change.
Be interchangeable.
Yeah,
that's not true for me. The first one definitely not. The top 2 could be interchangeable, and then Incredibles will stay at 4 probably for good, and then the next 5 could probably be interchangeable. The setup for Incredibles it's just perfect. I guess there's a handful of Pixar movies that just have an incredible setup, But The Incredibles, unlike some of these other ones with great setup, like WALL-E and Up,
They keep it.
they nail it. I don't see movies embrace the family dynamic, you know? That everyone kind of has a role to play and they can bounce off each other and be just, they can work together.
Yeah.
It's genius that that's handled in a superhero setting. It's very cool, I think.
Yeah, and I like about The Incredibles, I like that there's a bit more mature content about
it probably is the most mature.
Yeah, I
Pixar movie,
love that Mr. Incredible hates his fucking job.
And it's gray. It's
so great.
And I think Incredibles 2 has a little bit of that when he's being the dad. And they try to replicate that a little bit because I think the lights are off and stuff. And he's at home. And it's kind of homey feeling.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely the same because Mr. Incredible looks fucking pale. He's in like a great place.
He looks gross.
Yeah. And
he comes home and he looks gross.
Yeah. It's so stylized. I don't think it'd be a stretch to say that it's probably the most stylized Pixar movie. I think Coco, just by nature of the ethereal, fantastical dead world, it's inherently kind of stylized. So it's hard to say that's like a style because it's just it's literally just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because like there's like a straight up exaggerated nature of what's happening in The Incredibles. That doesn't exist anywhere else, I think, in Pixar.
Yeah, and
it's so fucking cool.
It's so cool. They do it so well. And Mrs. Incredible thinks he's cheating.
Isn't that sick?
And that's sick.
So good. She thinks
he's happier, he's getting fit, he's doing the things he needs to do, and she's like loving it, but then she's like, wait a fucking minute, why is this motherfucker looking so good? Why is he buying these nice cars? And it's so cool. It's awesome. And then she's like, I gotta go see what he's doing. And the kids are like, why? And then Violet's like, they're having like marital problems or whatever she says, and it's just so funny and so cute and so clever. And I feel like a lot of the movies towards the bottom of the list lose that kind of content.
Absolutely.
Syndrome, the villain, why is he the villain? Because Mr. Incredible was a dick to him. Why is the robot in WALL-E a villain? I don't know. Why is...
It's an homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, that's a big deal. That intro section to Incredibles where they set up why... What's his name?
Who?
The villain?
Syndrome.
Why Syndrome is the villain. They also simultaneously setting up the... I guess just the relationship between Elastigirl and Incredibles. They're doing it at the same time. And Frozo.
And Frozo, yeah.
At the same time, their relationship with superheroes and the public. It's just... I mean, it's amazing. They're hitting on all these notes in the same 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's excellent storytelling.
Yes. And even with Frozone, even the small little tiny bit Frozone has to say, it's iconic, He's like, I gotta do this for the greater good. And his wife's like, what greater good is there besides, like, what more greater good do you need?
And he's mildly whipped too.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
Yes, it is.
And with The Incredibles, not only is it a great, great, great film, a reason it's my number 3, it's because of the merch that came out when this film came out. The McDonald's toys were epic. I got a lot of Happy Meals during that time. A lot of Frozones, a lot of Mr. Incredibles.
Which one was the rare one?
I don't know which one that was the rare one. Not Frozone. I had too many of those for that to have been a rare one. And he like shot out his little ice thingy.
Mm-hmm.
it was cool. It was so cool. It's, especially being older now, it's not something that I get to be a part of anymore. The kids' toys that come out with.
They're also
Happy
not
Meal.
as cool as they
And
used to be.
they're not as cool.
I feel like it's hard to be excited
Yeah.
about them now.
Yes. So back then, with some of these, The Incredibles are one of the ones that stick out in my mind the most.
That's cool. I was never a Happy Meal person.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was.
I always got my McDouble and just ate the meat.
No, you weirdo.
And my fries.
I was gonna get the meal.
You know what I do
because
have? I have the Incredibles Lego game on PS4.
Yeah.
Can't wait to platinum that.
That's something.
Yeah.
And I think it was with Monsters Inc., which is maybe why it's my number 4. There were spoons in your cereal.
What?
With Monsters Inc.
Like in the box?
In the cereal box, yeah. There were spoons that came in there. And
That's
I think
fun.
They changed color.
That's cool because you eat cereal with spoons. And they put spoons in the cereal?
Yes.
That's funny. Who thought of that? That's awesome.
It's clever as fuck. It
would have been funny if they put forks in there too. That would have been funny too.
God. That would have been so funny. But, maybe these movies have a little bit more outside of the film itself that made me like them a little bit more, which, is it fair for the film? I don't know. But with The Incredibles, it's definitely, even without the McDonald's toys, great film.
Yeah, I hope so. And then even while Elastigirl and them are trapped, they think, or Elastigirl thinks that girl, the lady, is the mistress.
Yes.
And she gets pissed. She punches her, right?
Yeah, she knocks her out.
Yeah.
And
which is awesome.
Mr. Incredible was so happy to see her.
Yeah.
She's like, get the fuck away from me.
And that's probably halfway in the movie or so at that point.
Maybe
that's carried all the way through. That's awesome. Because I could just see a Pixar movie today just basically forgetting that was the reason she came.
I can see that. I can see them forgetting, yeah.
Or part of the reason, I guess. Because I guess there was a little bit of concern from Elastigirl because of Edna Mode spilling the beans.
Oh, yeah.
So she was actually concerned, but it was still in the back of her mind that my motherfucking man is cheating. Sick.
Yeah. All right, top 2. Here we go.
So number 2 is Toy Story 1.
Oh. Number 2 is Bug's Life.
Oh, shit. Cars 1 is your favorite?
Cars 1 is my favorite. And I'm assuming Soul is your favorite.
Soul's my favorite.
Yep.
Who would guess Soul's my favorite?
Who would guess?
If it's somber, it's going to speak to me. Which is ironic for what I was saying about Coco.
Depressing. It's a different kind. Which this one's about death too. Soul.
Yeah, Soul's about death. Yeah, I like Soul a lot. Soul is actually the only Pixar movie I would recommend to someone if they're looking for a great film. I would put it in the pantheon of some of the best animated movies ever made over every other Pixar movie.
You're not convincing me.
One of my only problems with Soul is the little dude who's trying to keep count of all the deaths.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
He's a little out of place. I know they kind of need something to tether this to kids.
Yeah.
And he is that answer. And he's, he serves his place a little bit. He's a little in it. He's in it. He causes too much of a commotion, but I like Soul pretty much the same reason why I like La La Land. It speaks on the same level, which is ironically about jazz. Involves jazz, I should say.
You're just a jazz man.
I'm just a jazz man. And there is just something deeply...
I'm not convinced.
That's okay. You don't need to be convinced.
Oh, I thought that's what you were doing here.
No. I don't think if a soul does not speak to your soul, It's a movie I think that's kind of hard to sell to someone, to be honest. It's definitely the weirdest Pixar movie. I would say, would you agree? I think it's definitely stands out as far as content goes. What do you think? Are you just shaking your head for
No,
please me?
Okay, so when we started this podcast, I said I made my list based off of pure feeling.
Okay. Where was Soul then?
This is my list made of
everything
I've said is just pure feeling.
Okay.
No type of analysis.
Okay.
After analyzing the movies and, scoring up my points, Soul actually is the number 1 movie. So it's just funny that it's my number 7, but when I actually critically think about this from a, analytical kind of standpoint,
that's what's up.
Soul came out on top.
That's cool.
And I just thought it was funny, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. But based on pure feeling, it's number 7.
One thing I love about Soul is its characters are written like people. Or at least its people characters are written like people.
Yeah.
And that speaks to me on a really deep level, because it's not unique to animated movies to write your characters like they're caricatures or archetypes or whatever, archetypes. Most people in most movies are not people, and it just doesn't, and people might disagree, but people will definitely disagree, but there's something so grounded about Soul that it really does shake my core on a filmmaking level.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that take me out of it, which make this movie not a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me. It's a 3.5. It's the only one that's a 3.5. I think it's the only one that's a 3+, actually. I think the rest are 2.5s and lower. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to ask. You don't want to know. But the push and pull between our main character, I don't remember his name. Do you?
No.
I want to say Jerry was a name in this movie.
No, that don't sound right.
I think Jerry was the guy who was following them and keeping count.
Yeah.
I think that was Jerry.
I think that sounds right.
I can't remember, though. But the out-of-body experience here that's literally happening is so...
It's kind of eerie.
It's super eerie, and I don't know what it speaks to me on. I think about Soul on a regular basis, probably once a month, and I just cannot describe the feeling it gives me. Mm-hmm. It's maybe this is what some people feel when they watch Pixar, and they're like, "Oh, it's the magical thing," And then Soul is finally that movie that speaks to me on that level.
Maybe.
But I mean, I don't know. I like to believe that I am sophisticated enough to develop these ideas, but I just cannot pinpoint exactly what I like about Soul. It speaks to my soul. It really does. It just cannot. I can't get it out of that position. I can't talk it down.
Yeah.
To a more grounded, literate level. It's just a little too ethereal, and I mean, it's been plenty enough time for me to think about it, but I just can't nail it.
Yeah, I think Soul is a little bit too real, so maybe that's part of that feeling. It doesn't feel like an animated movie because you have all these characters that are so developed. You have him. I don't remember his name either, but he's a teacher, and he's old.
It's a fucking music teacher, and they're like,
that's even worse. And he never got to live his dream, and just when he was about to, he fucking dies. Oh my god, that's like everyone's worst fear, to die before you get to do what you want to do, before you get to live. And he's got this second chance, which is, kind of the message, like, do it now. You don't get a second chance like he did. And I don't know. I don't know if I can relate to that a lot. I don't feel like I have many regrets in my life. Like, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. Maybe I'm still too young to have many regrets. But I guess I'm grateful for that I don't have that regret mentality. And so maybe I can't relate to that, but it does have this like almost being disturbed by how consequential his actions are. Like, I don't know. The only way I can describe it is how real this movie is.
Yeah.
It's too real. So maybe that's why it's a little lower for me, because
No.
I want some of the silliness to kind of escape. I don't know.
And even in this movie, I want Jerry's ass to get out of there.
Yeah.
You know, and he's the silly. He's really the silly angle. I like. It's a rare. This is the rare Pixar movie. You know, I don't know if we'll ever get one of these again. Soul, it came out at a funny time too, at the dawn of, not quite at the dawn, but you know, at the peak of kind of crazy COVID too.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that's related to really anything other than people dying a lot, but it's definitely in an interesting core memory slot in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And from the first moment I watched it, I was like, wow, that's how is this a Pixar movie? It just doesn't feel, minus the, you know, the Jerry's and whatever, it just feels out of place in the catalog of Pixar movies.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything else even comes close to feeling that way.
I can see that. I can definitely see that in this
And
film.
the characters are just so, like the barber scene's one of my favorite scenes, and like everything he does with his mom is excellent.
I was gonna say, I like when he's talking to his mom and telling her, I don't remember what they talk about, but they're in this room and he's in front of a mirror.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And like, why couldn't we get a little bit of that in several of these others, you know, with Turning Red or Inside Out, you know, just stuff a little bit more grounded in reality and not so fun, you know, because I don't want my movies to be fun for the most part. You know, like I told you, I don't like having fun. I like laughing. Movies can be really amazing in surprising ways, and I guess even Pixar is capable of it for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, yeah, I agree with you on Soul being the outlier here in the Pixar films.
And it's animated on another fucking level too.
Yes.
Like I think Lightyear and Luca, I think, came out after maybe Turning Red too. Yeah, Turning Red. And I know Soul does kind of adopt a different art style than a lot of the Pixar movies. A lot of Pixar movies have a very similar art style, even like from Cars to Toy Story. You know, there's like a similar kind of playfulness to it. But kind of like we were talking about in The Incredibles, with, you know, the sense of style with like color and stuff. There's a sense of style and texture in a lot of Soul. It's very realistic feeling. No one's realistic. Our main character's head is as big as
his belly.
Like, yeah, for real. His head's as tall as his chest, you know, and people are characterized, and
souls are characterized.
The souls are characterized. And it's just, there's just a element of texture here that's just amazing. Like, it's just hits on such interesting levels. I highly recommend Soul. Over many other movies, I recommend Soul. If I had to recommend two highly produced animated movies, it'd be this and the new Puss in Boots movie. You know, these are on similar levels to me. I like Soul on a storytelling level a little bit more, but on an animation level, Puss in Boots is on a whole nother fucking level. Puss in Boots is nuts as far as animation goes. And of course, the retirement scene in Puss in Boots is legendary.
Oh my god, it's up, yeah, it's up there.
Legendary. But yeah.
Sure.
So what's your number one?
My number one is Cars.
Cars. Inoffensible. That's an excellent choice.
Thank you. I feel like, you know, we've talked about the films that kind of stood out when, how did you phrase it? Like the shift in whatever animation these.
You think this is one of them?
I think
milestones in animation?
Yes, milestones.
Yeah, because I would say, I mean, I guess you got to start at Toy Story, but I think you do have an immediate jump, I don't know. I think that first jump really is Toy Story 2. I think that's that third movie. And then I think Monsters Inc. and Cars I think came out around the same time. I think you could easily see either one, because Monsters Inc. feels like it's a proper jump from Toy Story 2 to Monsters Inc. And then Cars feels like this is what Pixar is going to look like for the rest of time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I think they came out back to back too. I would be willing to bet. It's just
What did?
Monsters Inc. and Cars.
Oh, I don't know.
I'd have to look that up, but
Yeah, I don't know, but it's definitely a milestone. Just the way McQueen looks, the way the other cars look, but especially McQueen. I don't know. I love this film. I like the Radiator Springs hillbilly people that, it's the small town feeling, the love of your neighbor, the appreciation of antique things. Mater, I like Mater in Cars 1, but then I just immediately just don't like him at all in the next films.
I feel that. And thank God he's not in Cars 3 very much.
Yeah, he's not in
They
Cars.
realize that there's not really a relationship there to be explored.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they have the self-awareness to ignore him.
Yeah, I like that everything is a car. The little bugs are tiny bugs.
I know, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really magical the first time, because you see the level of where this world is, the car, the fucking bugs are cars, and they're bugs, I think, like Volkswagen bugs,
what I'm
right?
saying. They're bugs. They're like Volkswagens. Yeah.
And that's dope. I like it when, I don't remember what part it happens in, but when, I mean, it's kind of an iconic scene, I guess. I think it happens at the beginning when he's doing the race, and then his two little groupie girls, his two little major fans, they flash him.
Yeah.
The lights. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's genius.
It's clever. I like the soundtrack in this. No one's really singing, but you have some good songs in here.
Yeah, it's, as far as soundtracks go, I mean, it's probably the most famous soundtrack, not originals like Coco, but like it's on the same level as like Shrek.
Yeah. That's what it's a great soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, really, the animation is just awesome. I like that he has to stay in this town and can't get to his race, and he learns from all these characters. I think the cars could have been developed a little bit better. We have Doc Hudson, which we don't get a lot of him until the third movie, which is, again, the proper sequel. And then Sally, his little girlfriend, we get a little bit of her, I guess, her background, where she comes from, how she was just riding until she wound up here and was loved and taken care of by these people. The crazy lady who thinks her statue husband,
Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley. The really shy fire truck.
Which is weird. I love it, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
So good.
Yeah. And,
our favorite Italians.
Our Italians. These Italians are better than Luca's Italians. And their cars. He's like, do you know many Ferraris? And
I know,
like,
and
no.
they're so Italian, right?
Yeah.
The tires and the leaning tower of tires.
Yes.
And then the Ferrari thing. Like, they're more Italian, and they're maybe 10 minutes on screen total than the whole movie of Luca.
Yeah. I think it just hits me in the way that there's a community no matter where you look for it, and that there's people that are going to care about you whether they're your family or not. I like that McQueen gets to learn that and gets to get his shit together. Not many people have an opportunity to get out of their situation.
They humble his ass.
Yeah, stop being
Big
lonely,
time.
and then they humble his ass. Yeah. I don't know, it's just a cute movie all around. I debated a lot between A Bug's Life and Cars being my top.
I thought Bug's Life was going to be it.
Yeah, I had it number 1 for a bit, then I changed it just because Cars just has this feeling when I think about it. Especially at the beginning when his eyes are shut. He's like, speed, I am speed.
So iconic.
So iconic. So I don't know. That's why I changed it. But I think it's a little bit, I don't know. I'm kind of sleepy, honestly.
Is Cars, the movie, the reason why you have an inclination to like racing games? Is there a connection? Because you tend to like racing games.
I like racing games.
Which, if someone, you like fast cars too, you like muscle cars, whatever, but I don't think there's a big connection between liking racing games and muscle cars and fast cars, like in real life. I think there's something kind of interesting there. Because there's all of a sudden three kind of avenues of car type things you like. And I'm just...
You know what else is also maybe, now that I think about it? That movie came out and my little brother watched it all the time. And it was a movie I loved watching with him. And he had a Cars bed, I think. And he had Cars stickers. And it was cool. And, I kind of wanted Cars stickers and a car bed, but I'm not a boy, so can't have that.
Nope.
And I don't know. Maybe that movie just came out at the right place again with a lot of these other films. That's why this list is made off of feeling.
No, that's a great film.
So
great film. Early Pixar,
it's great.
They made better films. I think that's undeniable. They made better films in their earlier years.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is when...
In general, I should say.
One of my favorite scenes is when Mac shows up to the racetrack and all the news people are there and everyone's there and they're like, McQueen got here so fast. And then he opens his little flap and McQueen's not there. And he's like, what do I have on me? It's so funny.
I know. And the shot is like through them, like the news.
Yes.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's
so good. And then the cows. That's funny.
Cows are good. The hot rodders. That's they make Mac swerve and then something falls on the thing that makes McQueen fall out. Yep. And it's just it's so good.
Yep.
It is so good. Yeah, I do struggle with that in the car. I love Cars, of course. It's whatever number on here, whatever I moved it to. But if you think too much about the if you try to humanize these characters a little too much, it does start to mess up the dynamic of Radiator Springs because there's so few people, right? Mm-hmm. So you gotta slow down. You gotta gotta get your foot off the gas. And stick with the personalities. There's not a lot of development with the characters there, right? But they have so much personality. Each of them have they're basically archetypes of a character.
Which is what I like about A Bug's Life.
Yeah. Although I don't know why, but A Bug's Life they do feel a little bit more. They do feel like they have a little more I guess it's a little bit different because in A Bug's Life, they don't live... They do live, like, in whatever little circus thing they've got going on, but they're not... They're always on the road, ironically. Because these cars are not always on the road. They're kind of stationed at the cones and whatever. And so it feels a little more... It works a little better in A Bug's Life, this motley crew of guys, versus here. That is if you try to humanize it. If you cannot face that question, it's not a problem at all. I think there's infinitely lovable. Radiator Springs is infinitely lovable.
Yep.
Without a doubt. And Mater is kind of he's hard to love for long periods of time. And they thought they had something there, I guess, with Cars 2. But
they realized they did not.
I think so. Although they did have a show come out on Disney Plus with Mater. So I don't know. It's weird. Cars 2's existence is weird. That's an outlier, I would say, too, of Disney Plus, Pixar. Just in, like, content, just in storytelling. It just seems a little out of place, because Cars 3 seems like the proper sequel.
Yes.
That should have come out around the same time Monsters University came out, 10 years after or something, Cars 1.
Yeah.
Cars 2 is just...
Wait, it might have. When did Cars come out?
I think it might have. I think you're right. I think it came out in 2018.
Cars 3 came out in 2017.
Okay, yeah. So that was a little more than 10 years probably after Cars 1. And Cars 2 probably came out in between, halfway.
Yeah, 2006.
Which one, Cars 1 or 2?
Cars 1.
Okay, so 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years.
Okay, so Cars 2. Yeah, so Cars 2 should have just not happened. The Cars 3 we know and love should have been Cars 2.
Yeah.
And happened at the same time it did happen. Cars 2 should just be totally ignored. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. Nice talk.
Thank you. Long talk.
Long talk, our longest podcast yet. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how long this will be after editing, but it looks like it's going to be at least 3.5 hours.
And thank you for our listeners for staying this long with us.
If you made it this far, please consider donating to our Patreon, subscribing to our Patreon.
Yep.
You obviously enjoy the content.
You obviously like us.
Don't be a scallywag or don't be a freeloader and give us $1.
Yeah. Yeah, what's $1,
Yeah. Bring it on. Patreon. Patreon.com/Filmistines.
Yeah, we weren't too drastic. Maybe a couple that were kind of drastic, but overall I think we were on the same page.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think nothing polarizing happening here.
Nothing to fight besides A Bug's Life.
A Bug's Life and Monsters University were the biggest upsets.
Yeah.
For sure. And then had to defend Toy Story 3 a little bit.
That's true.
And Toy Story 1 I had to defend a little bit.
1, yeah.
I hate to be the person who defends them because so many people do, but there's just something so undeniably fantastic about the Toy Stories, about Toy Story 1 and 3. But that's fine. I'll be that person today.
Thank you for defending.
I don't want Toy Story to fall below a couple of these, The top 10, is fine. We don't need.
Yeah, if Toy Story is
better than Up, I don't want to below Up.
I didn't put it below Up.
Yeah, I'm just saying, And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines signing off.